Reborn in India as a Magnate. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301, You Are Smuggling. Belsina saw that Axe had been conquered by the golden peacock and just sat there smoking with a smile and said nothing. Belsina was waiting for the other party to set conditions for him. As long as the other party liked the gift he gave, he would definitely offer conditions that he was satisfied with in exchange. This was a blatant bribe. Sure enough, after Axe talked to himself for a while, he placed the peacock on the coffee table with a smile, then lit a cigarette and said to Belsina with a smile, "My master's Inge would not come to the temple for no reason, let alone give me such a precious gift. What do you want?" Belsina knew that the time had come, so he just smiled, flicked the ash on his hand and said calmly, "I was lucky a few days ago. Someone sold me dozens of gold artworks at a low price and let me buy them. I was going to ship them out of India and send them to Christie's and Sotheby's in the UK for auction. You also know how high the tariffs in India are. Is there any way to get them out secretly? You are kidding. Can you talk and play properly?" Axe rolled his eyes in anger after hearing Belsina's nonsense. He knocked hard on the tea table and said, "Okay, singer, I won't ask you where these gold artworks came from. You have your secrets. If you don't want to tell me, I can't ask you. We, the Bister family, have the ability to help you transport these things, but you have to tell me the truth. Are you kidding me about dozens of gold artworks? Do you think you can ask me for dozens of gold artworks?" Although Belsina's lies were exposed, he was thick-skinned enough. He just laughed and drank a sip of red tea before speaking. "There are not many hundreds of pieces, but there are very few top-quality golden peacocks like this one. In fact, most of them are Buddha statues. You are also a Hindu. How do you feel about Buddha statues? I believe you know. How much can these Buddha statues sell for in India? We can only ship them out, but the tariffs are too high. I can only ask your family for help. Don't worry, you will get the gold." Axe has been dealing with Belsing for a long time. He knows what kind of personality Belsing has and what kind of person he is. He was in charge of a huge family business in his genes. Now he has become the richest man in Rajasthan. He has factories on his hands, all of which are industrial companies. Do you think this kid can be so simple? He is full of nonsense and never tells the truth. Although he knows it, Axe still understands Belsing. If it were him, he would not tell the truth. It is true that the two of them are allies. But allies cannot show their cards to each other, and they cannot tell all the secrets to friends. If they do, they will die without leaving any residue. The first one to deal with you is your ally. But the more Axe knew about Belsina's character and way of doing things, the more afraid he became, because Belsina was really too daring. He was so bold that he dared to do anything. At the beginning, because of the toll, the entire Kayakashi family was uprooted and hundreds of people died. Because of the flood, he was threatened and hurt, and hundreds of people died. To a person like Belsina, a local rich man, human life is just garbage. What do you think this kid dare not do? If Bister really made any mistakes, the family would have to follow Bell to suffer the consequences. Just one golden peacock could not satisfy the Bister family's appetite. It was true that this peacock was too rare. This top-level work of art was priceless, but it was disproportionate to the risk. However, Bell refused to tell the truth, which made Axe feel uncomfortable. However, Bell was too tight-lipped and could not get any truth out of him. In the end, he had no choice but to tell the truth and let Bell consider whether it was worth such conditions and whether she could cooperate with his family. His price was already set, and it depended on how Bell would weigh it. If he kept talking about this and that, the problem would not be solved in a day. Therefore, Axe had no patience. He smiled and took out 2 cigarettes from his cigarette box and lit them for Bell, then said, "I don't care whether you are willing to sell a Buddha statue or other gold products, or how heavy it is. I will arrange all the logistics for you and transport it safely to the UK. That should be fine, right?" Belsina smoked and said a few words. "Axe, now we are getting to the point. What conditions do you want?" Because you despise his family. Tell me and see if it meets my standards. The pediatrician just grinned, stretched out a finger, put it in front of Belsina's eyes, shook it, and then said, "Our family doesn't care what you transport. We will give you 2 containers. The price we need you to pay is 1 ton of gold." Good man. You waved a finger in front of my eyes nonchalantly and asked for a ton of gold. Why don't you go and rob it? Saying that these political families of vampires is already a light punishment. You really dare to ask for it? If I had a ton of gold, why would I beg you? Bearsinge was already furious in his heart, but he still kept a smiling face. He said to Axe gently, "It's a bit too much. If I had a ton of gold, why would I look for you? The price I can pay is only 100 kilograms of gold, plus a 20 kilogram, pure gold Buddha statue. This is a person who does big things." Although he was secretly thinking, he couldn't see anything on his face. The 2 old foxes sat together and talked with a smile. It seemed calm, but the confrontation below was a sword fight. Hearing the conditions proposed by Bearsinge, Axe calculated in his heart that it was not worth it. It was still not proportional to the risk his family took, so he shook his head firmly. Then, he said to Sing in a serious tone, "Character, I won't talk nonsense with you. 500 kilograms of gold, and I don't want anything else. Prepare 500 kilograms of gold. The moment you hand it over to me, your things will be loaded, and the books will be shipped to the UK in the container." But here, Belsina played a trick. 500 kilograms was not a big amount for Belsina to dig out a gold treasure. It was equivalent to a small amount of income, but is your money so easy to make? So he was disgusted and played a trick. He smiled and slapped the table and said, "It's great. I'm Axe. You want 500 kilograms of gold. I really can't take it out. I can give you 500 kilograms of gold artworks from hundreds of years ago. What do you think?" When Axu heard this, his eyes lit up, and he slapped his thigh and said with a smile, "I know you are stingy, and you must not have anything. This golden peacock is valuable, but things from hundreds of years ago are antiques, not to mention gold. Okay, 500 kilograms of gold artworks. The things received will be shipped away, and everything will be safe." Chapter 302, Big Loss. Seeing Axe so excitedly agree to his terms, Belsinger almost kissed him twice, feeling happy in his heart. "Let your star family blackmail me. What will you suffer later? Is my blood so easy to release? My blood is poisonous, and you will have a stomach ache if you eat it." Of course, in order to avoid more troubles and to prevent the other party from being prepared, Belsinger asked the other party to prepare the ship and container very anxiously. It must be prepared within 2 days. As for the 500 kilograms of gold artworks that the other party blackmailed, they will be handed over to the Bister family when the container is loaded on the ship. But the Singh family has a condition. That is, it must be handed over to Axe, and no outsiders can be present. The transaction took place at the port in Mumbai. After the transaction was completed, the 2 containers of Belsinger's goods had already left the port. Even if the Axe family knew that they were cheated by the Singh family, what could they do? Bite me. After the 2 parties negotiated the details of the transaction, Belsinger shook hands with Axe and said goodbye. Knowing that the other party was busy, he did not agree to the other party's kindness to treat him to dinner. "How can I have time to have dinner with a grown man like you? There are so many beauties waiting for me at home, so Master Axe says goodbye to you." When he got in the car and returned home, Belsinger was not as happy as before. He sat on the sofa with a sullen face and sulked. This made the women in the family very cautious, for fear of angering Belsinger and causing him to suffer a violent storm of anger. Of course, this does not mean that these women are afraid of Belsinger, but they just don't want to provoke him. At this time, the old butler came from outside with a dozen strong male servants carrying boxes to transport the excavated gold coins to the underground vault. Seeing his master sitting on the sofa and sulking, the old butler knew what was going on. He came to Belsinger's side, poured a cup of steaming black tea for Master Belsinger, and then sat on the sofa and asked, "What's wrong, Master? Are the conditions proposed by the Bister family very harsh? I know that none of these vampires are good. How much do they want?" As the saying goes, people have to bow their heads under the eaves. Now the Singh family is just a seedling that has just grown up. There is no way To compare with the Bister family, that has grown into a towering tree. They have to let the other party blackmail them. Fortunately, I played a trick and made Fang Xiaoxiu suffer a loss, letting the other party know that my Sing family is not easy to mess with. The reason why I'm sulking is that the strength of my family is too weak to be bullied. When my family grows into a behemoth, I, the master, can live happily in the Indian subcontinent, not threatened by others. Hearing the old butler's indignant question, Belsing could only sigh and smile bitterly. Not much. At the beginning, the Ak tribe's condition was that our family provide 500 kilograms of gold. Although the other party did not say it explicitly, I also knew that they wanted 999 gold bars. How could the Singh family give him so much pure gold? So I played a trick and gave him 500 kilograms of gold artworks. The delivery location was chosen to be the Mumbai dock, the time was at night, and the delivery person was the young Master Axe. The old butler looked at Belsing with a strange expression and asked stutteringly, Old master, did Director Axe agree? Could it be that our family proposed such harsh conditions and the other party agreed? The old butler watched Belsing grow up. When Belsing raised his butt, the old butler knew what he was going to do. As soon as he heard the conditions proposed by Belsing, he knew that Singh wanted to trick the Bister family once and let the other party have no choice but to accept it. Who made the other party's young master not have that good eyesight to find out the tricks in these gold artworks? Who can you blame? Belsina's mood improved a little, and he laughed. That's right, that idiot Axe agreed. This time, I will have a good time with them, and let them know that the Singer family is not something that can be easily manipulated. Our family is like a hedgehog, a sea urchin, and a porcupine. Whoever touches it will get hurt. Is it so easy to trick Belsina? Don't you think so, old butler? Ha 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 ha. But the old butler was not in the same good mood as Belsina and asked quietly, Master, if the Bister family finds out that you set a trap for their eldest son Axe, the consequences will be very serious. After all, our family will have to stay in India, and it is not wise to provoke such a behemoth. Bell waved his hand and sneered. What can they do if they know? Unless they use the army, what can they do to the Singh family? Sinjar town is our family's fortress. If they want to move the Singh family, they must break through this fortress. Besides, it is impossible that they are the only top political family in India. They have many opponents. They are not afraid of our rebellion. The old butler tilted his head and thought about it. It is true that the Bister family is a political family, but they are not a military family. It is impossible to use the army to deal with the thousands of people in the entire Singh family. In addition, the Bister family also has many political opponents who are waiting to catch the Bister family's braids and pull him down. If the Singh family really rebels and joins the Bister family's political opponents, they will have no choice, and the loss is very large. Besides, although Belsinger set a trap for their eldest son, Axe's eyesight is not that good. Who can you blame for not understanding the different characteristics of pure gold and alloy? Who can you blame if your eldest son can't tell the difference? After thinking about this, the old housekeeper understood that Singer did this just to teach the Bister family a lesson. Don't always treat the Singer family as a small wealthy family. The small landlords can manipulate the character family at will. The Singer family will resist, and the Bister family will be hurt. If the Bister family takes risks, the Singer family must be placed on an equal footing, otherwise the Bister family will suffer in the end. This is a visit between the two sides. You come and I fight, but the tricks used by Belsinger are too vulgar and too despicable. But the old housekeeper likes it. The old housekeeper is a well-known miser. Of course, it would be better if he could not bleed. Then he asked Belsinger with a smile. Since the master has decided, I will personally go to the underground vault to select these gold artworks with the best quality and prepare to send them to Director Axe. Don't worry, it will definitely surprise him. The old butler is a very experienced person. The Singer family has relied on the old butler for more than 10 years. The Singer family only has Belsinger as the only one left. If the old butler didn't have some tricks and a sharp eye, would the family survive until now? So the old butler's eyes are very cunning. With the naked eye, you can tell how much gold this gold artwork contains, and the accuracy rate reaches 85%, and there are very few mistakes. Chapter 303, Preparation before departure. The old housekeeper went to prepare a special gift for Axe. Belsina sat on the sofa, drinking tea and smoking. In his heart, he was thinking about all the details of the trip to Europe. That's right, Belsina planned to go to Europe in person, to be more precise, to London to watch the auctions of Sotheby's and Christie's. Then he would go to Switzerland, to open an account and a safe in the best bank in Switzerland to store his things. Only then could he return to India without any worries. The time for the second trip would be 1 month at the fastest and 2 or 3 months at the slowest. It was not a task that could be completed in a short time. In addition, Lena was now pregnant and the baby would be born in 3 months. He couldn't leave Lena alone in India. Belsina was always worried without him by his side, to accompany his wife and children, because this was the first time Lena gave birth, and she was young, so the medical conditions in India were not reassuring. So the risk was relatively high, but Lena was now pregnant and inconvenient to move, so why did she go to Europe with him? He was so worried. In addition, there is more than one woman in the family, so it is a problem to decide who to take with you and who to leave behind. If things in this regard are not handled well, it is easy for the backyard to catch fire. Belsina does not want to face external pressure and appease the anger of the women in the family, making both sides unpopular. It would be no use to exhaust himself. After thinking for dozens of minutes, he still couldn't come up with the most suitable plan, and his head hurt. In the end, he had no choice but to give up. During dinner, Belsina looked at the women who were with him, and said with a frown, "Everyone, be quiet, I have something to say. Everyone knows that the Singh family has made a big move recently. They actually found a gold treasure excavated from a Buddhist site and are preparing to transport it to the UK for auction." Although Belsina is very mysterious, in fact, the women in the family certainly know what Belsina is doing. Many supplies are prepared by these women for Belsina. Seeing that Belsina told everyone the truth, several smart women knew that Belsina must have encountered difficulties and wanted everyone to give their opinions and help solve the problem. So they put down the food in their hands and listened quietly to what Belsina said. Seeing that everyone was listening attentively, Belsina was very happy and looked at Lena and said, "Lena, what do you think we should do about this matter? I want to take you to Europe, then give birth to our child in Europe. You also know that the medical conditions and traffic conditions in India are really worrying. In addition, this is your first child, and the risk is relatively high. I'm worried about my absence. Therefore, the medical conditions in Europe are better and can ensure the safety of you and your child, but there should also be a backbone left in the family, otherwise the servants in the family will not know what to do." The words are so clear. If everyone does not know what Belsina means, then they are idiots. Several women looked at each other and felt that Belsina's consideration was correct. As the saying goes, no matter what era, women have to go through the gates of hell when giving birth, and there are many dangers and uncertainties. What kind of medical conditions in India do you all know? Treating people like animals, a simple appendectomy can open a person's chest. It took more than 20 hours to save her. Giving birth under such medical conditions would be extremely dangerous. Who dares to let them do this? In addition, Lena's identity is not an ordinary person. She is the real mistress of the Singh family. The one who gave birth is the future heir of the Singh family. The identities of the mother and the child are really noble and there can be no mistakes. Otherwise Belsina will suffer a great loss. One is his wife and the other is his child. How can he not care? Can he not be afraid? Belsina can consider Lena and the child in her belly, which makes the other women feel very relieved. Singer treats them with the same feelings. Singer can treat them like this just like he treats Lena. With such a good husband, what else can these women ask for? They all heard Belsinger's difficulties. It was a very difficult decision for anyone to stay at home. It was also extremely unfair to treat that woman. One went to Europe to shop and play on a public expense tour, while the other stayed at home to deal with some trivial matters of life at home. Can this treatment be the same? No wonder Belsina was embarrassed to speak up. It was very difficult for them. The reason why it was so difficult was that the twin sisters Natasha and Natalie, who of the sisters would go with them? Only the two of them could stay at home, and they met all the requirements. Because the little fat girl Praji was too young to stay at home, it was useless. It would be better to go out and broaden her horizons and have some fun, so the target could only be the two sisters. The two sisters looked at each other, lowered their heads, and talked in a low voice. At this time, Natasha, as the elder sister, spoke first. Sister Lina, Brother Singh should let Natalie go with you to Europe. Leave me at home. Don't worry, I will take good care of the Singh family and there will be no trouble. Everyone felt that Natasha was modest. Natasha's character was very calm. Now that Lina was pregnant, the housework in the whole family was basically supported by Natasha. Having long been familiar with the Singer family's way of handling domestic affairs, which was equivalent to being half a hostess, it was the best choice for her to stay. But Natalie on the side disagreed with her sister's statement and argued, "Sister, haven't you always wanted to go to Paris, the fashion capital of Europe? This time the opportunity is so rare. You accompany Sister Lina to Paris for a tour, fulfill your wish, or I will stay at home." Seeing the two sisters support each other, considerate and modest, Belsina was very fortunate. Fortunately, he married a pair of twin sisters. If the two of them were like fire and water and made trouble in the backyard, he would be in trouble. Just as Natalie said, Natasha had a wish in her heart, that is, to go to Paris, the fashion capital, to take a tour, see how people there live, and see what fashion is. The two sisters each insisted on their own opinions and argued at the table, and they were modest and wanted each other to go to Europe for a tour. When the dispute was unresolved, two pairs of eyes were fixed on Lina, asking the legitimate wife to solve the problem of the two sisters' humility. It was time for Lina, as the legitimate wife, to show her authority. The legitimate wife Lina made the final decision to let her sister Natasha go to Europe with the couple. Although Natalie had never handled the internal affairs of the Singh family, this was a rare learning opportunity. Without the opportunity to exercise, she would never grow up. So Lina finally decided to accompany Bel Singh to Europe with Natasha and Prajaya. Chapter 304. Compensate her well. The matter was decided so happily. Bel Singh, who had put down a big stone in his heart, opened his belly and had a big meal. At the table, he talked and laughed with his women. Everyone was discussing whether to go to Big Ben first or Buckingham Palace in the UK. If you don't know much about Britain, you must think that everything in Britain is good. The only bad thing is that the food is dark cuisine. In addition to frying, it is also boiled. Fried chicken, fried fish and boiled various vegetables are completely different from French cuisine. In fact, this is all misunderstanding. British food is also good. India has been ruled by Britain for hundreds of years, and the understanding of Britain has been deeply rooted. So Bel Singh took several women in his family to Britain without worrying about food and drink. Besides, he was not used to British food, so he could cook it himself. The worst thing is just to increase the cost of living. For the Singh family, which is about to become billionaires, it is simply a drop in the bucket. This dinner was very enjoyable. The dessert was a white cake made by Lina herself. It was sweet and soft, and there were all kinds of preserved fruits in it. It was really delicious with a cup of fragrant black tea. After chatting and laughing in the living room until more than 10 o'clock, Lina signaled Belsina with her eyes, and Belsina understood. She stood up with a smile, pulled Natalie, whose face was already red, and came to her room amid the laughter of several sisters. According to Lina's principle of scheduling, it should be her sister Natasha who served Belsina today. But I don't know how long I will go to the UK this time, and I have to travel around the European continent. I can't come back without a few months. For the happiness of the whole family, Natalie, who stayed at home, must be very lonely. As a husband, Belsina must treat his women equally. While there is still some time, of course I have to accompany Natalie who stayed at home. Back in the room, the young couple took a bath together and tossed for more than 2 hours before they hugged each other breathlessly. It stands to reason that at this time, he should say some lingering love words to make the woman happy, but Belsina did not play by the rules. While smoking, he told Natalie some details about staying at home, such as asking the old housekeeper who stayed at home if she didn't understand anything. With the old housekeeper, everything is not a problem. Natalie is just a mascot in the family. If you are bored, you can go to the town to play, but you must be under the close protection of the bodyguards at home. Never go out alone. because it is too dangerous for a woman to go out alone. Although Natalie felt very disappointed, she also felt Belsina's care for her. It was because he was worried about herself that Belsina kept nagging, and Natalie would listen carefully. From time to time, she raised some of her own questions, and only when she got Belsina's answers did she feel satisfied, and the couple hugged each other to sleep. The next morning, after having breakfast, Belsina was dragged to an unused warehouse in the house by the old housekeeper. As soon as he entered the house, he saw a room full of golden artworks, especially the two elephant and lion statues placed at the door. However, the yellow of these two golden statues was a little special, and the gold content was obviously insufficient. If it were during the day, even if someone didn't know the characteristics of gold, they could tell at a glance the difference between these golden artworks and these elephant and lion statues, because their yellow color was so special. But Belsina was cunning and chose to trade these gold artworks at night. Even if Axe had good eyesight, he couldn't tell the difference. This made Belle very happy. She sat on the head of the lion statue, took out the cigarette box in her pocket, and lit a cigarette with the old housekeeper. Then she smiled and praised the old housekeeper with a thumbs up. "I'm assured that you can do the job. These things are very much in line with my heart. When I think that Axe can suffer a big loss from my ally, I feel very happy and excited." But the old butler didn't think so. He sighed and said very depressed, "Master, please don't praise me. My face will be red and red when you praise me. If I had the ability, I would not let Axe extort so much property from our family." Belsina waved his hand and smiled and said, "This is a different time. Who made our family weak? This is not your fault. It should be blamed on me. If I were a little older, our family would not be controlled by others like this when it was looking for a fortune." The old butler grimaced when he heard this. Belsina was too modest. Children of the same age as Belsina are still in high school. How many people can run the family business alone? How many can lead a small wealthy family to this point today? Being too modest is hypocrisy. Fortunately, the old butler understood Belsina's character. Belsina was a typical person who played dumb and tried to gain advantage by using his young age as a cover. He made jokes when dealing with others and maximized his own interests. He was helpless to the extreme and showed his advantages to the fullest. Fortunately, Belsina was his own master, the backbone of his family, and not his own opponent. Otherwise, it would be a headache for the old butler. The old butler knew Belsina's character too well. If his own master was allowed to be more modest, he would definitely give a long speech. Now he had no time to listen to the master's words, so he quickly interrupted Belsina's words and said, "Master, there are not only those defective products in this batch of things, but also many real ones. The value of real gold artworks is not low. The total number accounts for 65% of the total proportion, which means that 35% are defective products. Do you think this ratio is okay?" Belsina grimaced when he heard this. 65% are real gold artworks, and each one is worth a lot of money. These are all real gold and silver, and each piece of gold art cannot be measured by money. Its value is far higher than the same weight of gold. It hurts, but what can you do if you feel sorry? So Belsina endured the piercing discomfort, sat on the lion's head and shook his head helplessly with a wry smile. "Tell Brooke to pack and box quickly. I feel heartbroken for watching it for one more minute. It's all money. I will make the damn Axe pay the price sooner or later. He must spit out what he eats from me, and he must give it back to me if he takes what I take. Otherwise, how can I, a waste, lead the Zinch family to grow and develop?" Just now, he was persuading himself that he had to bow his head under the eaves, but he didn't expect that the master would turn around and start complaining about his weak strength. The contrast was so great that the old butler was a little uncomfortable. He quickly called the human mule Brooke, who had been waiting outside for a long time, to bring people to pack and box these gold artworks quickly, so as not to make his master feel distressed, and he felt very uncomfortable in his heart. Chapter 305. Satisfied, very satisfied. The servants at home moved quickly. The wooden boxes were prepared in advance, and of course they were made of some common wood. As long as you don't see what's inside, all the large and small gold artworks are wrapped with waste newspapers and placed in the box to prevent them from colliding with each other. As for the 2 lions and elephants, they were placed in a wooden box separately. My goodness, they were too heavy. It took 4 people to carry them at the same time to put this gold artwork weighing hundreds of kilograms in the box. After finishing these, Belcina personally presided over the packaging of the gold artworks that were planned to be shipped to the UK for auction. Not to mention those professionals, even people like Belcina who don't know much about the value of art know that the quality of the gold artworks packed and boxed at home is simply incomparable to those in the Axe blackmail case. It can't be said that every piece of gold art has reached the value of the golden peacock that he gave as a gift, but it's almost the same. If these things appear at the auction, they will definitely cause craze, so Belcina is quite confident about his own income. When people have money, they become more confident. When their family develops, they will see who dares to cheat them. Therefore, Belcina personally presided over the large packaging boxes and registration of these gold artworks. The morning passed in a hurry. Belcina was originally very fat, and the high physical labor had soaked his clothes. When he walked out of the warehouse, he felt cold and sneezed twice, which scared the old butler. If the master caught a cold, it might affect his family's itinerary and indirectly affect his family's income. While personally helping Belcina run home, he complained, "Master, how old are you? Why don't you pay attention to your health? What should I do if I catch a cold on the ship? If the trip is delayed, our family's income will be greatly reduced. Why don't you take care of your body?" Although the old butler is usually a thin old man, the power he burst out at this time is no match for even a strong man like Belcina. Being dragged to run home, Belcina was confused because the old butler was really concerned. He just sneezed twice. What's the big deal? The cold is caused by viruses, not cold. But seeing the old butler's concerned look, Belcina didn't want to hurt this loyal old servant, so he could only smile helplessly and said while running, "It's not a big deal. The key is that you don't have to be so anxious. It will be fine after taking medicine for 2 days. Why are you so nervous?" How could the old butler be criticized by others? He ran back home and searched for a while and finally found the cold medicine. Regardless of whether Belcina was willing to put it in his mouth, he forced Belcina to swallow it. After taking 2 cold medicines, Belcina felt dizzy. In addition to the high-intensity physical fatigue last night, he fell asleep on the sofa in less than 5 minutes. Seeing that his master fell asleep on the sofa, the old butler returned to Singer's room and took down a wool blanket to cover Singer. Then he told everyone in the family not to make too much noise to disturb the master's rest, otherwise he would see how the old housekeeper would deal with him. The old housekeeper was the absolute authority in the family, who dared not to listen. Belcina didn't know how long he had slept in a daze and was attracted by a fragrance and woke up. When he opened his eyes, he saw that it was already noon. He stretched his body and sat up from the sofa. It might be that he got up too fast, or it might be that he sweated too much. The sweat on his head dripped into his eyes and it stung for a while. When he touched his clothes, they were soaked. It seemed that he really caught a cold. He sweated and took some medicine to feel much better. Then he picked up the steaming black tea on the coffee table and drank a few sips. After feeling that his throat was relieved, he stood up and went back to the room, took a shower, and changed his clothes. After lunch, Belcina summoned all the important backbones in the family to his study, and several leaders held a meeting. The content of the meeting was division of labor and cooperation. Brooke, the human flesh LUO, personally accompanied Belcina and his family to travel across the ocean to the UK. The old housekeeper stayed at home, and all the affairs of the town were entrusted to Jamal, who had been working in the town for quite some time. The old housekeeper personally sat in Laga village in the family base, assisting Mrs. Natalie in presiding over all the affairs of the family. Of course, the old housekeeper was the main person, and Natalie was just learning from him. Belcina also told Natalie to follow the old housekeeper in everything. After a meeting, all the affairs of the entire family were arranged, and then Brooke, the human flesh mule, personally led the team with a gun. The heavy-duty trucks that had been transferred from the cement factory were used to load the tightly sealed wooden boxes onto the trucks, and then the transportation was escorted by heavy soldiers from Laga village and drove along the road all the way to the port in Mumbai. In India, even if you cross two independent states, you will not be allowed to stop for inspection. Not to mention that Brooke, the human flesh mule, had a certificate issued by the Singleton Police Department in his hand. It proves that the materials on the truck are the equipment needed for the police competition in Mumbai, and they are also some protective equipment and entertainment facilities for the competition. There is nothing to check, so the journey is smooth. After 2 days, we arrived in Mumbai. In fact, according to the traffic conditions in India, it is impossible to reach Mumbai in 1 day. Such a high speed, but India also has highways. Although the highway conditions are not very good, it is also a highway. In addition, each truck is equipped with 2 drivers, running 24 hours a day, so it arrived at the Mumbai dock within 2 days. The people at home set off, and 1 day later, Bel Singh took several women at home in a business car, and arrived at the Mumbai dock comfortably 1 day later. At this time, a container ship was docked at the dock. Although the cargo ship was not big, it was very new. It seems that it has just been launched not long ago, and the speed must be very fast. There is also a 5-star luxury cruise ship docked at the Mumbai dock. This cruise ship will set off early tomorrow morning and travel along the coastline all the way to Plymouth, England, before it is considered the end. Then they would take a British train from Plymouth to London, which was already arranged. And someone in Belsina's house was staying in the presidential luxury suite on the cruise ship, so they would definitely be very leisurely and happy along the way, which would be a good little trip. Of course, Bel's personality was not happy now, because it was getting closer and closer to the evening. His priceless gold artworks were getting farther and farther away from him. Seeing the huge amount of wealth slipping away from him and his hands, who could talk happily? Chapter 306, Singer, you bastard. The transaction between Belsina and Axe was not open to the public, so the Bista family had already arranged the transaction location in a warehouse at the Mumbai dock. All the surveillance systems in the entire warehouse were dismantled, and then the Bista family bodyguards controlled it layer by layer. When it was dark and the time entered 9 o'clock in the evening, Belsina nodded to Brooke, the human mule sitting next to him in the driving position. Then Brooke leaned out of the window and shook the truck behind him 3 times with his flashlight. The 2 cars started together and drove slowly in the dock warehouse composed of containers like a maze. When passing every intersection, you can see the despised family in black suits standing at the intersection to direct the direction of advance. The good guy turned left and right for 5 or 6 minutes before he arrived at the gate of the warehouse and saw Axe, who came to trade. Axe was very happy when he saw Belsina. Isn't this nonsense? Who would not be happy to get such a large batch of gold artworks? This is all money, this is all hard currency, and he greeted them with open arms and laughter. He gave Belsina a bear hug when he got off the car, and Belsina wanted to kick this hypocritical Axe to the ground and beat him up. But it couldn't be done now. If a fight really broke out, he would be finished, and his family would be finished. So he injured the disgust in his heart and made fake jokes with the other party. After chatting for a while, he waved and let the 2 trucks that had been waiting for a long time drive into the warehouse for the transaction. When the warehouse door rumbled shut, the lights in the warehouse came on, and then the bodyguards of the Singh family and the Bista family worked together. All the wooden boxes on the truck were lifted down one by one with a gantry crane, and then the bodyguards of the Bista family and the Singh family all withdrew from the warehouse. The only one left inside was the human mule Brooke, who used a crowbar to pry open the wooden boxes sealed with nails bit by bit. He opened the plastic sheet inside, picked out a golden candlestick that was placed on the top, which was in very good condition, and opened the waste newspaper wrapped on it. Then he handed it to Axe, who was already drooling with envy. This golden candlestick is a bit like the shape of Poseidon's trident, which can hold 3 candles. It is in the shape of a mountain and its main trunk is a tree trunk. The most distinctive feature is that the bottom of the candlestick is shaped like a tree root, which is made of densely packed gold. The intertwined roots form a base, which is very beautiful and shining with gold, which makes Axe very satisfied. He played with the tree-shaped candlestick in his hand and said to Belsina in admiration, "Singer, sometimes I even envy you for having such good luck. Although you didn't tell me the origin of this batch of gold artworks, I know you will definitely get this batch of treasures at a very low price." Belsina did not hide it, but smiled and said, I have already said that we will not talk about this topic. How about this batch of things? Are you satisfied? It is enough to pay for the transportation of the batch of things to the UK. How can things be so simple? Axe knew that Belsina was very cunning, so he just smiled and shook his head. He signaled Brooke, the human mule brought by Belsina, to take out another artwork and intend to verify it on the spot. Belsina had been prepared, so the gold artworks placed on the top of the box were all very exquisite and priceless things, and only the things placed at the bottom would have something fishy. Because each box contained more than dozens of gold artworks of various sizes, it was impossible for Axe to turn out all of these gold artworks one by one. Check whether the things at the bottom are genuine, and when the batch of gold artworks are handed over to Axe, the two parties will complete the transaction. Even if Axe finds problems afterwards, the things he doesn't have are very different from the things on top. What if he reacted in time? What can you do to the cunning Belsina? Belsina can refute it. What he taught him was the real thing, and it was also inspected on the spot by Axe, who made him have poor eyesight. Despise his family for causing trouble for Belsina. Belsina can also refute that it was the Bister family who made a trick, and the Bister family just wanted to blackmail him. This is the benefit of both parties. No matter what is traded, they must inspect it on the spot. As long as there is no problem with the things inside on the spot, then it is the other party's responsibility, and Belsina does not have to bear such a cost. So he very happily asked Rosbrook to take out the gold artworks on the top one by one according to Axe's instructions. When Axe saw the golden lion and golden elephant in the independent packaging box, his eyes almost popped out. His chin almost hit his toes, and he looked at Belsina in shock, who looked calm and felt that nothing was a big deal, and said in surprise, Singer, where did you get these two golden artworks in the shape of mythical beasts? They are so big. How much gold do they cost? It's really high. It seems that you have made a lot of money this time. Bell just smiled and looked at Axe, saying indifferently, the 500 kilograms of gold artworks you asked for, if they were all small items, how much would it cost? So I can only get you the two heaviest golden artworks in the shape of mythical beasts that I purchased. Don't mind that they are just heavy to make up the number. Axe knew that Belsina was cunning. The less he let himself care, the more carefully he would check his gains. But Axe was not a gold appraiser after all. Looking at the dazzling golden lion and elephant, he determined that they were pure gold, and was so happy that he almost danced with joy. The things had been verified for more than half an hour and there was no problem. After that, the two parties completed the transaction. At this time, Belsinger's phone had already rang. Almasha, who was in charge of the team, had already loaded all the wooden boxes into red containers and shipped them to the ship through the relationship of the Bister family, and informed Mr. Singh that the ship had set sail. Almasha was already on the ship as an escort, personally guarding the safety of the gold artworks. Now the ship has left the Mumbai dock. The ship will dock in the UK in a week, and then they can pick up the ship. After the two parties complete the transaction, Belsing will also board the ship immediately. As the cruise ship left, he greeted Aksu and hurried to the dock with the human mule Brooke and boarded the luxury cruise ship. Axe also repacked and boxed the batch of gold artworks and shipped them back to the Bister family's residence in Jaipur, the capital of Rajasthan. When Axe excitedly brought his father and several brothers to the family's underground vault, he was very happy to see the batch of gold artworks. However, after the family's appraiser identified it, the real gold artworks did not reach 65%, and the remaining 35% were alloys. This made Axe feel very embarrassed in front of his father and brothers, gnashing his teeth and cursing angrily. Singer, you bastard, I didn't expect you to lie to me. Just wait and see how I'll deal with you when you come back. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 307, Good Times on the Cruise 1. Axe was furious. He knew that he was fooled by Belsina, who was much younger than him. This made Axe feel very embarrassed, not to mention that he lost face in front of several younger brothers and competitors nearby, which made Axe extremely angry. He originally wanted to increase the benefits of his family, but he didn't expect to be tricked by Belsinger, a little sly guy. This made Axe gnashed his teeth, and was thinking in his heart how to deal with Belsinger when he came back. But he didn't expect that his father, who was very strict with him, would smile when he got the test report. Axe was originally planning to welcome his father's fierce criticism, but he didn't expect his father to smile at him. He also reached out and patted his shoulder and spoke to him very gently. This feeling has not happened for nearly 20 years. Axe was a little absent-minded for a while, and he didn't even understand what his father said. Haha, Axe, don't worry about these little details. You shouldn't feel angry now, but you should feel lucky that you found such an excellent ally in Belsinger. Father, our family was deceived, and I was fooled by Belsinger. Should I thank that little rascal? Axe's father smiled and nodded before saying, why not? Is it because you were fooled by him that you are angry and want to retaliate against him? This is not a small detail that a person who does big things should care about. I'll let you feel lucky because you found a very good ally who can help you for a lifetime. Seeing his son Axe looking at him blankly, waiting for his father to answer the questions he didn't understand. This made Axe's father seem to have returned to the time 20 years ago when he taught his eldest son Axe the truth of life. At that time, the relationship between father and son was very good, and there was no such contradiction and competition as now. This made him, as a father, miss it very much, and said to Axe with emotion, you should think like this. If he can fool you, it proves that this kid's IQ is definitely not lower than yours. And on top of you, Belsinger is developing a plastic products factory and plans to occupy the entire Indian subcontinent in one fell swoop during the market gap. He is ambitiously planning to turn a mountain town of Sinjar into an Indian version of Yewu. Is this kind of ambition and courage something a 15-year-old child can achieve? The faster he grows, and the stronger his economic strength is, the more help he will be to you. You should have a good relationship with him instead of making an enemy of him, because this Belsinger kid has such potential that it is incomprehensible. I can't judge him, let alone you, so making friends with him is the first priority. Axe said indignantly, but he deceived me after re-inspection. He fooled me with 35% of the counterfeit goods. Can this matter be let go? If he can fool me once, he can fool me a second and third time. How can the two sides cooperate in the long run? Axe's father patted his eldest son's shoulder with a smile, followed by his son's. As he walked out of the warehouse, he explained to several people with a smile, of course, we can't just let it go like this. We should punish this cunning Belsinger to let him know that we already know what he is doing. We also know the purpose of his doing this. Let him know that the Axe family still cares about his status as an ally. Let him understand what is going on so that the two sides can continue to cooperate. Axe walked side by side with his father while listening to his father's explanation and slowly understood this truth. At the same time, he understood why Belsinger was cunning. He also understood the reasons and methods for continuing to cooperate with Belsinger, an ally with unlimited potential, so as to further strengthen the cooperative relationship between the two sides. At the same time, he also figured out how to punish Belsinger, the ally, for his tricks. The father said that a small punishment and a big warning would be enough. Let the other party know that he is not a fool, and it is impossible for him to suffer such a big loss. It is better for the two sides to cooperate sincerely in the future. Don't be so clever. Further strengthen the relationship between the two allies, which will be a great help to yourself in the future. While Axe was furious and cursing Belsinger brought several women from his family to the swimming pool at the top of the luxury cruise ship. It was a great feeling to enjoy the coolness of the swimming pool while watching the sea view. They left India last night. Although the luxury cruise ship had strong horsepower, it was too big. It was the second largest cruise ship in Europe, and the speed could not be raised at all, only about 25 knots. But life on the luxury cruise ship was very cozy and comfortable. It felt great. I lived in the presidential suite. There were more than 6 rooms, large and small, more than 7 bathrooms, and a separate small kitchen. The whole family could live in this suite. Belsinger was still worried that several women in his family, who had never been on a ship, would feel uncomfortable, especially Lina, who was pregnant. If there was any problem, it would be too late to remedy it with the medical conditions on the ship, but unexpectedly, no one felt seasick or uncomfortable. Not only did they not feel uncomfortable, but several people were particularly excited. They tossed for half a night before going to bed and had breakfast early the next morning. Belle's personality was dragged to the top floor of the luxury cruise ship, soaking in the swimming pool, swimming and enjoying the intoxicating sea scenery. In fact, it is called beautiful scenery, but there is water everywhere. What else can you see besides water? But the women were in high spirits, and I, as a husband, couldn't spoil their fun, although there was nothing good to see around. But it was also very happy to enjoy the food. After swimming in the swimming pool for a while, and sucking water with several women, I came to the rest area, lying on a lounge chair, wearing a relatively large bath towel. While enjoying the delicious Lafite red wine and the still squirming oysters, I watched the women playing in the water. After a few minutes, everyone was tired, especially Lina, who had swam 2 laps and was not suitable to soak in the water. They walked out of the swimming pool one after another, but the 3 little beauties, with beautiful limbs like lotus flowers, made Belsinger's heart surge. Half a glass of red wine almost went into his nose, while coughing awkwardly, wiping the red wine on his chest with a tissue. At this time, Lina heard laughter when she saw the extremely embarrassed Belsinger. She picked up the towel beside her and helped Belsinger wipe his body while laughing. You deserve it. You are so old, but you can drink to your chest. I don't understand. When you became so lustful, you forget everything when you see a woman. Belsinger laughed and said, you can forget everything in front of beauty, let alone drinking. Don't you know that when you came out of the swimming pool, the sun shone on you? It was really charming. If you are not a saint, you will look like a pig. Besides, who can control my wife? Chapter 308, Good Times on the Cruise Ship 2. What Belsinger said was really too powerful. That's right, who cares if someone drools at his wife? Who dares to care? At this time, the little fat girl Praji had just finished wiping her hair and threw herself into Belsinger's arms, shaking Belsinger's neck and saying with a smile, Brother Bell, why hasn't my Haagen-Dazs ice cream been delivered yet? Did you eat it all? Ha 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 ha. Belsinger patted the little fat girl's butt and said helplessly, if Praji keeps eating like this, your weight will exceed the standard. When you become a little fat girl, let's see how you cry. The little fat girl didn't care and said with a smile, no, I heard from Sister Natalie that if you want to grow taller and faster, you have to eat. Otherwise, how can you be with Brother Bell? The little fat girl couldn't forget to be with him, which touched Belsinger very much, but also felt helpless. Looking at the 2 women who couldn't hold back their smiles, he said angrily, how do you sisters educate Praji? How old is she? If you tell her this, and she continues to eat, she will be unable to walk. Who came up with this trick? Lina sat on her recliner without caring, covered with a blanket, and looked at Belsinger with a smile before saying, you blame us. It's because you didn't pay attention and let the little girl see it. Belsinger chose to forget this question, and the waitress had brought up the ice cream that the little girl wanted. Not only was there ice cream, but there were also a lot of dried fruits sprinkled on it. It tasted fragrant, crispy, and cool, and the taste was amazing. The other women also ordered this Haagen-Dazs dried fruit ice cream, and Belsinger was lucky enough to taste it. The little girl obeyed Belsinger's brother. Others couldn't eat her ice cream, but Belsinger could definitely eat it. They stayed like this until noon, and then Belsinger took a few wives back to the room to change clothes, and then took the elevator to the restaurant downstairs. Although on a luxury cruise ship, the luxury cruise ship will stop at a seaport city every 3 or 4 days. So supply is not a problem. There is nothing you can't order. In addition, when sailing on the sea, the luxury cruise ship will catch a lot of fresh seafood and send it to the restaurant for guests to choose. Since it is on the sea, of course, you have to eat seafood. So Belsinger ordered a large table of fresh seafood and had a good meal with several women in the family. At the same time, Belsinger was very grateful that he was reborn in an Indian. If he was reborn in a Muslim family, if he is a Muslim, then congratulations, These strange looking delicacies and any alcoholic beverages will stay away from you forever. Hindus don't have so many weird rules. They can eat anything and drink any alcohol. Although it can't be said that there are no taboos, it still has no impact on life. Of course, even if Bel is so bold, he will not choose to eat beef. Because beef is a sacred beast, it cannot be harmed. Even outside, this religious rule must be followed. If other Indians see you using beef, then congratulations. Your trouble is coming. After dinner, several people came to the 24-hour performance hall, sat in the booths, enjoyed the wine and food, and watched various cultural performances. The family's smiles never disappeared, especially the acrobatic team hired by the cruise company at a high price. Your various acrobatics are dazzling, and applauded one after another, especially the flying trapeze, which is really unique. Two very slender beauties can perform flying trapeze, flying more than 15 meters in the air and then catching. This is not credible at all in terms of women's physical conditions and strength. If it were two men, it would be understandable, but women are really unexpected. They played until the afternoon, and then returned to the restaurant to order food. At night, sitting in front of the window of the suite, watching the bright moonlight sprinkled on the sea, that feeling is really great and dreamy. This made several women fall into endless reverie. I don't know who mentioned the classic love movie Titanic, and got a grain of approval from several other people. Because there is a multifunctional audiovisual room in the suite, it can fully meet the needs of the family to watch movies. You said you can watch a movie, but Titanic is a disastrous love movie. In the end, Rose and Jack were still separated by life and death, which made several women cry. It made Belsina very annoyed. He coaxed one to cry, coaxed another to cry. After a movie, Belsina felt like he had fought a war, which made him physically and mentally exhausted. After watching a movie, La Belle planned to go out for a breath of fresh air, but she didn't expect that several women would not let her go. She actually proposed to come to the bow of the luxury cruise ship like the Titanic to experience it and enjoy the feeling of flying like Rose in the Titanic, which made Belsina at a loss. Although he strongly opposed it, he still lost 3:1, so he could only follow several women to the bow. Let several beauties, big and small, enjoy the treatment of the goddess of the Titanic. Of course, it is dark now, and it is impossible to see dolphins flying freely in front of the ship. It's just that it's pitch black in front, and the sea breeze is strong, and I finally filled my stomach with wind. After tossing and turning for so long, it was finally quiet. At night, Belsina hugged Natasha, and tossed, avenging the women for making him suffer such a foreign punishment. The next morning, Natasha was still energetic, but Belsina was holding his waist and grimacing. As the saying goes, there is no land that can be plowed badly, only cows that die of exhaustion can be plowed to death. Seeing Belsina's weak appearance, the women wanted to laugh, but didn't dare to laugh, which made them very depressed. I got up early in the morning and ate a large plate of oysters, intending to replenish myself. This heavy taste is really unbearable. Several women are very disgusted with the feeling of chewing and swallowing the still squirming oysters in the water. They don't eat, but Belsina likes to scare several women every time he eats oysters, and he scares them to scream before he stops. Another day later, the luxury cruise ship docked in Karachi, Pakistan, and was ready to dock for half a day. Tourists on the ship can go to the city of Karachi for half a day. After replenishing supplies, the luxury cruise ship will set sail. To be honest, Belle has never been to Pakistan, let alone Karachi. Karachi, full of beautiful scenery, is very fascinating. After all, it is a port city with beautiful scenery. He took the excited women to play in the city of Karachi, and then had a special hala lunch at noon, and bought a lot of souvenirs. This ended the half-day tour. What was unexpected was that the women were very interested in incense, a maintenance method used by women in the upper class society, and bought a lot of spices for incense. Chapter 309, Good Times on the Cruise Ship 3. After bypassing Pakistan, the luxury cruise ship arrived in Muscat, the capital of Oman, and stopped for most of the day before continuing the journey. After crossing the Arabian Sea and passing the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, it entered the Red Sea and went all the way to Suez, Egypt's most famous seaside tourist resort, before it stopped for a day and a half. The Suez Canal is the lifeline of Egypt. It fought a war with Britain for this canal, and it was the focus of contention during several Middle East wars. Of course, it is now a little quiet. Belsina took his well-dressed family off the luxury cruise ship and came to Suez to visit the old town first and feel the local customs. Although Egypt is a highly westernized country, it is an Arab country after all, and it was the leader of the Arab world at the time. There are still many restrictions on women, so when Bel took his wives off the ship, they all covered themselves tightly in traditional Arab women's clothing. The water on the coast of the Red Sea is clear and blue, and it is rich in seafood. The quality is quite good and the price is very cheap, so the pearls are abundant here. Because the sea water is clear, the pearls here are of very good quality, and of course the price is very expensive. However, this kind of natural pearl jewelry is the most deadly weapon for women. Women have no resistance to pearl jewelry at all. It's not easy to come out to play once, of course. I can't treat my wives badly. Although Belsina saw the prices on these pink and black pearl jewelry that looked white, he was distressed. But seeing the red eyes of the women, he secretly swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva, and finally gritted his teeth, and smiled at the women who had been eager for a long time. What are you waiting for, ladies? Pick what you like. Your husband will pay for you, ha ha ha. As he said that, he symbolically took out the wallet in his arms, put it in his hand and patted it. The women were very satisfied, and drove around every jewelry display cabinet hand in hand with a smile. They chose their favorite pearl jewelry, and when Belsina turned around, he quickly opened his wallet and saw tens of thousands of dollars in cash and bank cards in it, and then he patted his chest with relief. It's easy to brag, but if you can't pay, not only will you lose face, but the faces of the women will also be lost. There are blonde foreigners all around, and it will be embarrassing. Women's physical strength when shopping is several times that of men. I don't know why those frail women have such great explosive power. They look weak and delicate at ordinary times, but their fighting power when shopping is the sum of several men. Anyway, Belsina is not an opponent. He weighs nearly 200 kilograms and is out of breath after walking for more than 10 minutes. A man will be exhausted when accompanying a woman shopping. What's more, accompanying several women shopping is simply a nightmare. At this time, Belsina began to regret why he was impulsive and why he found so many wives. Fortunately, the women were very considerate of Belsina's fat body. Besides, Lina was pregnant with a big belly, and her fighting power dropped sharply. The women didn't consider Belsina, but they should also consider Sister Lina and the child in her belly. It's still a bit humane. Belsina was tired and sweaty. Finally, everyone chose a set of pearl jewelry. Lina has the highest status in the family. She is the real mistress of the Singh family. In order to reflect Lina's dignity, the most expensive and most novel and beautiful set of pearl jewelry was purchased. This set of pearl jewelry has a very dreamy name, Midnight Fantasy. Just by listening to the name, you can know that this is a set of black pearl jewelry. Black pearls are very precious. It is not necessarily possible to produce a black pearl in 10,000 pearls. What's more, each pearl is so round, and it is even more rare to have a diameter of more than 1 centimeter. This set of Midnight Fantasy black pearl jewelry squid string, a necklace composed of 36 pearls, 2 pearl earrings, a pearl bracelet and 2 pearl brooches. In addition, Lina's white skin is set off, which is called beautiful. It is quite matched. Of course, the price is also quite expensive. But when the stingy Belsina saw Lina wearing this set of Midnight Fantasy, he felt that his eyes were fixed on Lina. The beauty was really beautiful. Not to mention that it only costs $50,000. Even if it is $500,000. Belsina will not hesitate to buy this set of black pearl Midnight Fantasy jewelry. Of course, she was strongly opposed to buying this set of Midnight Fantasy because the price was too expensive. Only when you manage the household, you don't know how expensive firewood and rice are. The first lady is not just talking. The money in the family is under the control of Lina, and Lina knows exactly how much cash reserves there are in the family. But Belsina is very persistent. This set of black pearl jewelry is too suitable for Lina, just like a natural match. They can't live without each other. Put together, it is a beautiful work of art. If the two are separated, the charm value will drop by more than 50%. In addition, since Lina and himself have been married for such a long time, Bel Senior has been busy with his family business. Even during the honeymoon, it was anticlimactic. He has always wanted to compensate Lina. This time, he has a chance. How can he let it go? No matter how Lina tried to stop him, Bel Senior swiped his card on the spot and bought this set of Midnight Fantasy worth $50,000 as a gift to Lina. Of course, Bel Senior is a qualified husband. After buying this set of Midnight Fantasy for Lina personally, Bel Senior was very generous in paying the bill for each woman. Because Natalie stayed at home, Natasha, the elder sister, and Natalie, who stayed at home, were twin sisters who had a tacit understanding. The elder sister knew best what her younger sister liked. The tastes of the two sisters were basically the same. They both bought a set of white pearl jewelry. Although it was white pearl jewelry, it sparkled in the sun. It formed a sharp contrast with the midnight dream. One black and one white had their own merits. As for the fat girl Praji, she was much easier to deal with. The little girl had not grown up yet. Now she was wearing this set of pearl jewelry, which was a bit out of place and very funny. Of course, it would not affect the peace of the backyard, and would not cause family disharmony, although the little girl was not old enough to wear pearl jewelry. But it was no big deal to save it. It was a rare opportunity to buy it. When she grew up, wouldn't it be very matching? What's the big deal? So Bel Senior took several women in the family as advisors. Combined with the comprehensive advice of the jewelry store staff, Praji bought a set of pink pearl jewelry. When checking out, she didn't expect that this set of pink youth series pearl jewelry was the second most expensive. It reached $35,000. The little girl was lucky enough to get the second most expensive jewelry, which can be regarded as compensation for the loss of not having the opportunity to wear this set of jewelry. Chapter 310, The Turkish Liar, Part 1. Everyone got their favorite pearl jewelry, and the women were in a very good mood. Women in a good mood are also very gentle and sensible. Seeing Bel Senior sweating profusely, the women looked at each other and saw the apology in each other's eyes. Lina then smiled and took Bel Senior's arm, took out a handkerchief from her bag, and wiped Bel Senior's sweat while smiling. The weather in Egypt is really hot. Look at how our master Singh is sweating all over. Sisters, let's accompany our master to the cold drink shop to have some cold drinks to cool down. Otherwise it would be too much. Ha ha ha. Bel Senior certainly knew what Lina was thinking and said angrily with a dissatisfied look at Lina with a squint. You just remembered me now, isn't it a little late? I don't care about you sisters, just discuss how to compensate me. Now let's hurry to the cold drink shop. I want to drink a large glass of cola with ice cubes, otherwise I'm really in danger of heat stroke. Of course, whether to compensate or not was just a joke, a way of joking between husband and wife, and he brought 3 beauties, big and small, to the cold drink shop across the street. Because Suez is a port city, the number of tourists reaches millions every year, which brings rich tax revenue and employment opportunities to Egypt, and the tourists are all foreigners. Although the Arab world prohibits alcohol, there are certainly some preferential treatments in tourist cities, so there are many bars in the old and new cities of Suez. If you have a large glass of iced beer, it will feel great, but it is not convenient to bring a few women to the bar. If something goes wrong, it will be too late to regret it. So although Bel Senior was envious of those iced beers, he had to come to the cold drink shop and ordered some Haagen-Dazs ice cream for the women. I was holding a large cup of iced cola, gulping down the drink. Fortunately, the cold drink shop had good service and many snacks. I ordered a piece of chocolate cake and a cold drink, and I could sit there for an entire afternoon. But after Bel Senior and a few women finished their cold drinks, they left in a hurry. How could they kill time in the cold drink shop when the opportunity was rare? Of course, I enjoyed the local tourism environment. I rented a luxurious carriage to visit the old city, the most distinctive buildings, looked at the so-called century-old shops in the local area, and bought some Arab costumes. Even Bel Senior got a set of Arab robes, which is simply unimaginable in India. Can you imagine an Indian high-caste noble, the old Kshatriya, wearing an Arab robe? This is simply blasphemy. Although Bel Senior was not tied to the stake and burned to ashes, there were many people who pointed fingers and talked about him. Of course, Belsing was just looking for something new and cool because the local temperature was too hot. Arab robes are cool. If you don't wear such cool robes, your body temperature will rise easily. It will be troublesome if you get heat stroke. Which is more important, life-threatening or face-saving? After a half-day tour, we had a barbecue dinner on the beach of Suez. This time, the barbecue chefs were all prepared by the Chinese chefs who were with Belle. There were endless sauces, and the taste was so fragrant that it could be smelled 30 miles away, attracting some people who were strolling around the beach. Everyone was young and cheerful. The ingredients prepared by Belsinger were very rich, and the quantity was enough to invite these friends from all over the world to have a good meal. After everyone had a few glasses of beer together, the atmosphere was almost set off. They started to play music and dance around the bonfire. It was really a group of demons dancing in all kinds of ways. Although it was very funny, it was best for everyone to be happy. Why would they not let go of their face? The next morning, they went their separate ways and no one knew who was who. So after having a lot of fun, eating and drinking, dancing, and sweating, Belsinger burped and staggered back to the luxury cruise ship's cabin hand in hand with several women. After taking a shower, he tossed around in bed for a while, and then fell asleep in Natasha's arms. The luxury cruise set sail again at noon the next day. This time the destination was Turkey, a very fun country. Located in the center of the Eurasian continent, it has been a crossroads since ancient times. There has been no peace for thousands of years. Turkey is the center of the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years. At that time, the Ottoman Empire ruled the entire Arab world. However, the Turks are mainly Turks. Strictly speaking, they are not indigenous to the Arab world. Coupled with hundreds of years of cruel rule, those Arab countries have treated Turkey differently, accepting it as a country in the Arab world, but excluding it. It is a member of NATO, but NATO looks down on it and guards against Turkey everywhere. In addition, Russia and Ukraine are enemies across the Black Sea, which can be said to be surrounded by enemies. The people of Turkey have a very good advantage, that is, diligence. With their own hands, they have built up their country's economy little by little, and they are also rich in the Middle East. Because Turkey is an ancient country with many places of interest, Istanbul alone is enough to play for a week. But the destination of the luxury cruise ship is Europe, and it is impossible to stay at the doorstep of the Mediterranean for a week. The cruise company can do it, but can the passengers on the ship do it? Who has time to spend a week in Turkey? So the luxury cruise ship came to Izmir, the most famous port city in Turkey, and docked for a day, allowing passengers to get off the luxury cruise ship and move freely. The cruise ship will officially set sail at 8 o'clock that night. Is a day long? It's not short, and the opportunity is rare. Belsinger, at the moment the ship docked at the dock, hurriedly got off the luxury cruise ship with his family and several bodyguards. Why so hurried? That was because the women were really in a hurry. The specific reason was a long story but not complicated. Because the women in Pakistan were obsessed with incense, the most famous healthcare activity for women in the Arab world, and they were obsessed with it. They were obsessed with it to the bone. This time they came to Turkey, which is the real birthplace of Damascus rose. The three best places for rose essential oil in the world are Bulgaria, Turkey, and Syria. Since they came to the holy land of rose essential oil, which is the main raw material for incense, and can also be used to take a bath in rose essential oil, it has a very good healthcare effect on the skin. Can the women let it go? When the women were anxious, Belsinger ran forward like a clockwork alarm clock. They hired a few taxis at the dock and went straight to the city to the most famous bazaar in the local area, which is a large spice market, and started the starting point of this luxury cruise spice trip. Chapter 311, The Great Turkish Liar. After passing through the city, we arrived at the Grand Bazaar in the city center. After getting off the bus, Belsinger was so surprised that he almost dropped his chin on his feet. The unique Arabic bus is actually a bazaar, where everything is sold. The reason why it is called the Grand Bazaar is that this bazaar is built in a closed hall, surrounded by shops, like a maze. If you are not familiar with this Grand Bazaar market, it is easy to get lost. You can't even find the exit. If it is a particularly large Grand Bazaar, you may not be able to walk out after walking around for a whole morning. Fortunately, Belsina was well prepared, and he didn't understand the local language, so he could only hire a local translator. The translator was a young man. Although he looked like a decent person, Belsina was very worried about this translator, because his eyes were always wandering around, as if he was thinking of something bad. This is taking me as a fat sheep to slaughter, but I want to change a translator, which must take more than 4 hours. In this way, the time to visit the market can only be shortened to half. What can I buy? Can I enjoy it? Although I was very worried about this cunning translator, I had to deal with him. At most, I should be more careful when buying things, and not let the other party take advantage of the loopholes and cheat my money. So the moment I got off the car, the young translator was very excited, and began to introduce the history of the Grand Bazaar to Belsina and his family at the entrance of the Grand Bazaar. I didn't expect that this market, which looks inconspicuous, is a century-old market. The history of the Grand Bazaar exceeds 130 years. In particular, the architecture of the entrance of the Grand Bazaar is very distinctive. There is a crescent on the dome, and the walls are covered with various mosaics. The stained glass at that time was quite expensive. The mosaics that can be covered with stained glass can reflect the status of this Grand Bazaar in the hearts of the locals. It also proves that the market stalls in the Grand Bazaar have very rich incomes, otherwise it would be impossible to raise funds to build such a luxurious entrance. Standing at the gate of the bazaar, you can hear all kinds of shouting with local characteristics, and people come and go at the door of each store. Because it is the entrance to the Grand Bazaar, fresh fruits are sold at the door. Because Turkey has a very mild climate, and no extremely cold or hot weather, it is rich in fruits. Locals also like to eat fruits, so everyone looks good. Because I just finished breakfast, I was not hungry, and several women were eager to visit the so-called spice shops. At the entrance, I just admired the characteristic architecture of the Grand Bazaar, and then followed the translator with ulterior motives, and entered the Grand Bazaar from the entrance with bodyguards. After entering the Grand Bazaar, what came into view were the crowds of people coming and going, and all kinds of bargaining sounds. The business of each stall was very good, and the items sold were also dazzling, because this Grand Bazaar had 2 floors. The upper floor sold general merchandise or food products, and the lower floor was where the real spices were sold. To be on the safe side, Belsina decided to get straight to the point. So after crossing the road in the center of the bazaar, he came to the stairs on both sides and went down. When he entered the stairs, Belsina's sensitive nose smelled all kinds of fragrances. These are the smells emitted by spices. Praji, who has a sensitive nose, sneezed because of the smell of spices. He felt better after putting on the mask. The little girl's nose is particularly sensitive. With her, it is like having a spice detector. Any spice has nowhere to hide under Praji's nose, and any flaw can be smelled. With the little girl, it is like taking out an insurance policy, so as not to buy fakes. As for the high and low prices of these spices, it can only be judged by feeling. After walking towards the unique **** spiral staircase, what comes into view is a world of red and yellow various colors. It can be said that the fragrance is tangy. Here, even a pig can become a fragrant pig. Even the North American skunk with the strongest smell is still fragrant here. However, unlike the bus-selling department stores on the upper floor, there are relatively few people in the spice market. There is no feeling of rubbing shoulders with each other, but it is still very lively. At this time, the young translator who was more thoughtful introduced Belsina with a smile in British English. Mr. Singh, this is a paradise for spices. We sell all kinds of incense and essential oils, which is also a major feature. And the price is cheap. The top grade Damascus rose essential oil is priced at $150 per gram. It's very cheap, isn't it? Belsing just sneered and said nothing. You think I'm a fool? I checked it on the internet when I was on the boat. Now the price of the top grade Damascus rose essential oil is $20 per gram, and you told me it was $150. You took all the difference in the middle. This is equivalent to a 7-fold premium. I didn't expect this kid to be so bold. Since the other party wants to play, Belsing will accompany him. Without saying anything, he waved his hand and took Lina to the spice stall little by little. Look at this one and that one, pick up each item, put it under your nose and smell it. Then he whispered to Praja in the unique Rajasthan dialect to see the quality of the spices. If the quality is good, buy some. If the quality is not good, give up. Anyway, there are many stalls for you to choose from. Just start buying in large and small packages. Every time I pay the bill, I pay special attention to the thoughts I hired and the reactions of many translators. Every time I pay, the other party's eyes light up, and then he starts to look around, and I know what bad ideas he is planning. The eyes that are eager for money are obvious to everyone. As the saying goes, a gentleman loves money and gets it in a proper way, but the other party's way of loving money is really shameful. This is purely a trick to deceive the employer and is not worthy of his professional ethics as a translator. After shopping for more than 40 minutes, all the incense and spices, except essential oils, are basically bought, enough for several women to use for more than a few years. Because spices are very volatile, put the spices in a sealed glass jar so that they can be stored for a long time and will not deteriorate. After buying everything, the remaining essential oils are the theme, because rose essential oil is recognized as a beauty product all over the world. Moreover, it is particularly difficult to produce 1 kilogram of Damascus rose, and only a few grams of essential oil can be produced, which is concentrated with essence. The high price is understandable, but it is not as outrageous as the translator expressed to me. Since this translator is also a local, he is very familiar with the stalls in the spice market. In order to earn more than 7 times the price difference, he will definitely choose an essential oil store that he is most familiar with and has the closest cooperation with to conduct secret operations. Chapter 312, The Turkish Liar Part 2. This is the basic routine of fraud, and Belsina also understood it very well, so before he entered the essential oil sales store, the translator began to use humorous language and rich knowledge to disturb the attention of Belsina and his group. Then he turned several corners and led the group to a very luxuriously decorated essential oil store. There were also several customers in the store, but they were all local women. Although English is a universal language in the world, it is not something that ordinary people can master, so everyone speaks British English, but few people can understand it. Most of the people who buy essential oils are also women. Although Turkey is very open, the status of women is not high. So these ladies who buy essential oils will choose to leave in a hurry after buying their favorite products and will not choose to stay too long. Although the essential oil store is very luxuriously decorated, there are only 2 salesmen. One is greeting customers and the other is standing at the counter to count the bills. At first glance, he is the boss. Even though Belsina is not a facial recognition expert, when he saw that the boss and the translator looked so similar, Belsina knew that the trap set by the translator for himself had come to him. The owner of the store and the translator are not cousins, they are brothers, and the 2 sides cooperated very well. After the group entered the store, the 2 people only exchanged glances briefly and understood each other's intentions without any language. Knowing that the fat sheep came to the door, the owner of the store walked around the counter very enthusiastically and came to the front of the crowd and shook hands with Belsina first. Then he spoke a lot in Turkic, and Belsina knew that the other party was welcoming him after the translation. Welcome to this city for tourism. After the other party stopped a lot of language, Belsina introduced his purpose of coming here in American English to the other party, which was to buy the top Damascus rose essential oil. Of course, the boss also pretended not to understand and looked at the translator standing next to him blankly. Only through the translation did he know what Belsina wanted to do, and then began to introduce Belsina to the so-called top Damascus essential oil in their store. Rose essential oil is a very volatile substance. If exposed to the air, it will evaporate quickly, and the fragrance will overflow. So they are all packed in sealed glass jars, just like perfume. How much to use after opening the lid? Pour out as much as you can, and then seal it up to prevent evaporation. Because it is an essential oil store, there is a very small faucet at the bottom of these sealed jars. Gently twist it open and drop a drop of rose essential oil on your hand. Rub it carefully for a few times and put it under your nose to smell it. Wow, the fragrance is diffused. It is really fragrant. No wonder women have almost zero resistance to rose essential oil. It is more fragrant than perfume. Compared with the two, the fragrance of rose essential oil is more single. In order to show that the essential oils in his store are the best products, the boss invited several women in the family, and each of them came forward to test the quality of the essential oils. Then he began to talk endlessly about the origin of these essential oils, how precious they are, how low the output is, and how high the price is. Anyway, he said a lot to introduce his own things to Belsina and his party. It is reasonable that the price is expensive. To be honest, the quality of the essential oils in this store is indeed good, but the price is a bit too outrageous. This is like slaughtering a fat pig. Is rose essential oil as precious as gold? Although it is called liquid gold, it is still a bit lower than the price of gold. As the saying goes, you have 1,000 tricks, but I have certain rules. According to the introduction of Damascus rose essential oil on the internet, Belsina chose the top grade rose essential oil, which is of excellent quality, because there are many women in the family, and Lina has many relatives. The more women there are, the more essential oils are consumed. When it is given as a gift to relatives and friends, it is also a very good gift, so Belsina chose to buy a large amount of more than 10 kilograms. 10 kilograms of the amount, and the top grade Damascus essential oil, is a very large transaction involving a transaction volume of more than $500,000. When Belsina expressed the amount of essential oil he bought, the owner and translator of the store were ecstatic. If they slaughtered this fat sheep, their profit would reach an astonishing $300,000. This is really 3 years of not opening the business, and 3 years of eating after opening. But is Belsina a big fat pig? Not only is he not a fat pig, but he is also a shrewd fox. At the moment of entering the store, Belsina asked Brooke, the human mule who was following him, to bring people to the store management office of the Grand Bazaar Market without the translator's attention. After finding the market supervisor, the store owner and the translator were cheating and blackmailing. They could catch the thief and catch the dirty. Since you are like me, don't blame me for being ruthless. Don't you want to play? Then let's play a big one. Although I'm a foreigner, I'm a tourist, and it is related to the reputation of the Grand Bazaar Market. I believe that the staff of the market management office will definitely deal with it according to the law. If the other party wants to cover up the translator and the store owner, then Belsina doesn't mind using diplomatic means to let the other party see the power of his upper caste in the Indian consulate. After choosing the top rose essential oil, he said the quantity he needed to buy, and then began to negotiate with the other party to negotiate the price of these essential oils. The other party bid $50 per gram and refused to let go. It seems that the other party will not cry until he sees the coffin, so what else can he be polite about? Press the connect button on his mobile phone. Brooke, the human mule, and the market manager heard everything clearly, and then the two sides began to trade. Due to the huge amount, the transaction could only be completed through bank transfer, and no one knew how the other party operated. Even the tax issues of essential oil sales were handled by Belsina. After signing a purchase agreement, the two sides completed the transaction. It was written in black and white on the document, and it was impossible for the other party to deny it. When both parties signed, it was as expected by Belsina. Brooke, the human mule, came over with the manager of the Grand Bazaar Market. The two people who had just completed the blackmail task were still secretly happy. But when the market manager came to her store, the owner and the translator felt cold, and then came forward to talk enthusiastically. If it was in the past, it would be a bluff, but Belsina almost figured out all the links, and left all the evidence. The other party couldn't deny it, even if they wanted to. Even if the locals covered for each other, they couldn't blatantly harm tourists. And the amount of harm was so huge that it was equivalent to blackmail. Who dared to protect this store owner and translator? Since both parties knew each other, the market manager still handled it impartially and reprimanded the shop owner at a very fast speed. And the translator who set a trap in the middle thought that his conspiracy had succeeded, but in fact, it was all under Belsina's control. There was evidence left throughout the process, and they had no way to deny it, and there was also audio evidence. Now that the matter is clear and the evidence is conclusive, what else can be said? Chapter 313, Brutal Action. After learning all the stories from the staff of the Grand Bazaar, the shop owner and the translator who deceived Belsina were dumbfounded. It turned out that the fat Bell was not a fat pig, but a fat fox. Bell Senior actually knew all the traps set by the two. He also deliberately walked into their trap, otherwise how could he get the evidence? The two were complacent, thinking they had made a fortune. Unexpectedly, Bell Senior was a poisonous candy. If he ate it, his intestines would be pierced, and his stomach would be rotten, which would make them suffer enough. The two looked at each other, and saw the incredible look in each other's eyes. Then they began to explain to Bell Senior and the market staff, but what are you explaining in black and white? It is a fact that you are blackmailing. Seeing the other party shouting excitedly, this is to make a big deal. As the saying goes, the law does not punish the masses. He wants to bring all his neighbors to life, confront the market management personnel head on, and then turn a big thing into a small thing. They plan to use the advantages of local people and local shops to turn back their current disadvantaged position, and finally fantasized that they would not compensate Bell Senior for any losses. Where in the world is there such a good thing? How could such a trick fool Bell Senior? Through the hotline of the local consulate, Bell Senior yelled at the other party, wanting to make a big fuss and stir things up. He had already notified the Indian consulate. The staff of the consulate are now on the way by car, and they will arrive in 20 minutes, so Bell Senior just sat on a chair next to the store. He smiled and watched this farce. With his 5 bodyguards and Brooke, who was a human flesh, who could hurt him. Although the bodyguards did not carry guns, each of them was very strong, and not much worse than the locals. If they really started fighting, the other party would really be no match. Farce is farce. Seeing that the market staff slowly began to change their attitude, it is also possible that the store owner and the other party reached some agreement. He paid a great benefit. I wanted the staff of the Grand Bazaar to mediate the conflict between the two parties, and the other party did the same. A supervisor from the other side came to Bell Senior and handed him a cigarette. Since smoking is not banned in the Arab world, smoking is allowed. Bell Senior also accepted it with pleasure. Bell Senior was originally an old smoker, and he had not tasted the unique Turkish cigarettes. I didn't expect it to be very strong when I smoked it, and the taste was so strong that I coughed. It took a long time to get used to it. Then I waited for the market manager to play a trick, to make a big thing a small thing, and see what the other party would do. After half a cigarette, the other party really made a move. Looking at Bell Senior, he frowned and said in English, "Mr. Singh, the matter has been understood clearly. Although this store has some suspicion of fraud, the top grade Damascus essential oil is expensive. Yes, it is $500,000 higher. What if you choose to accept the other party's refund of the purchase amount and then sell the essential oil to you for $450,000? Then will the remaining $250,000 go into your pocket? You are thinking too much. There is no such good thing in the world. Do you think I'm a fool?" Bell Senior said with a sneer while smoking a cigarette. "Is this the final solution for this blackmail store? If so, I can't accept it. In acting, of course there are people who play the good cop and the bad cop." Seeing Bell Senior holding onto the pigtail, the deputy official was not happy and snorted in the second scene. "Mr. Senior, the matter is not as complicated as you think. The blackmail is actually a misunderstanding. The translator did not express the process correctly. What's the big deal? You didn't pay. I didn't pay. Can I tolerate the blackmailing of me if I didn't pay? There is no such reason in the world." Bell Senior is not a vegetarian either. He sneered at the deputy who played the good cop. "So what is your opinion, the market manager? Let me accept this plan and then pay more than 7 times the price to buy 10 kilograms of essential oil, right?" When Bell Senior said this, the two people changed their faces immediately because the price expressed by Bell Senior was the actual price of the essential oil. It seems that Bell is playing the pig to eat the tiger. The other party has reacted and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. It seems that this time the fat meat can't be eaten. If it's not done well, it will cause trouble. Whether you can keep your job will become a problem. This is a diplomatic incident. So the two people exchanged glances and immediately chose to give in tacitly. "There are still some good cops," the market manager said to Bell with a smile. "Since Mr. Senior has made it clear, then we have nothing to say. Tell us your conditions and how to reconcile." "That's right. This is the meat of the play. Since you want to blackmail me more than 2 times the price to buy your so-called top Damascus essential oil, then I'm sorry, I have to fight back. So Belsina said nothing, but smiled and stretched out his fat bare paw like a pig's hand and shook it in front of the other party. The head of the market management staff immediately changed his face, shook his head like a rattle, and said with a clearly declining attitude, "Mr. Singh, I believe you have learned about the price of the top Damascus essential oil. The price that should be given is really unacceptable. If I buy these 10 kilograms of essential oil at the price you gave, then this store will go bankrupt and close down. How can their family live? Do you really want to kill them all? I'm not the Buddha, let alone a god, and I can forgive the mistakes of mortals. The other party is clearly trying to blackmail me, this fat pig of mine. Can't I make the other party pay the price? Can the other party only take advantage and not suffer losses? There is no such reason in the world." Seeing that the locals were covering for each other, Belsina knew that there would be no result if he continued to talk nonsense with the other party, so he chose to remain silent. Sure enough, more than 10 minutes later, the second secretary of the Indian consulate came to the door of the store with his men. Then, Belsing, wearing traditional Indian clothes, was seen sitting quietly on a chair with his women, smoking and watching the chaos in front of him. Only more than 6 strong bodyguards were protecting Singh. The person concerned did not have any life safety issues, which made the second secretary and staff of the consulate breathe a sigh of relief. Although the advantages of the upper castes in India have been weakened a lot in this era, and the rules and traditions formed over thousands of years are not so easy to be eliminated, Belsing's status in modern society is too high, much higher than those of the consulate staff who seem to be glorious. With Belsing's status, he can directly face the ambassador of the Indian embassy in Istanbul and make his own protest, and the embassy has to pay attention to it. This is the benefit brought by social status, and this is the benefit brought by the upper caste. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 314 Robbery. Seeing that Belsina's family was safe for the time being, the second secretary of the consulate breathed a sigh of relief. Smiling, he took the initiative to extend his hand and shook hands with Belsina, who had already stood up, and said with a smile, "Mr. Singh, welcome to Turkey. We are already aware of what you have encountered. Don't worry, the Indian consulate will definitely give you justice. This is the treatment you should enjoy as a citizen." Belsina frowned, and he could hear the official tone of the second secretary's words. Who is Belsina? Is he someone that a small diplomatic consulate secretary can afford to offend? Are you talking to the wrong person? So Belsina shook his head and sneered in dissatisfaction. When you say these high-sounding words again, shouldn't you introduce yourself first? What's your name? The second secretary of the consulate graduated from the political college, and he has been in the Turkish consulate for so many years. What kind of people has he not seen? He knew that Belsina was angry about this matter, and he thought that this Master Singh was young and easier to deal with. I didn't expect that he was an old fox. No matter how nice you say on the scene, if people don't buy it, what can you do? So the second-class secretary put away his contempt and secretly sighed that the Indian caste system has been passed down for thousands of years. After all, it has its reasons. Elites are elites at all times, and slaves are slaves at all times. A noble lord like Belsing of the high caste used to be a royal relative, and the lowest one was a local lord. They were not people that ordinary people like them could touch. So it had to attract the attention of the second-class secretary. If things went wrong, Belsing, the noble lord, would protest to the embassy. Although his job would not be lost, his future was ruined in front of his superiors. He could only achieve this position in the future. Who doesn't want to climb up? What is the purpose of being in a foreign country? Isn't it just to climb up and live a better life? Isn't it glorious when you return to India? It would be a great injustice to ruin your future because of such a small matter. The second secretary of the consulate said solemnly to Belsing, "Mr. Singh, I'm the second secretary of the Indian embassy in Izmir, Devalabek. and I'm here to serve you sincerely. Don't worry, the consulate will provide help for the unfair treatment you have received, and will never let Indian citizens be bullied abroad. Belsingh laughed and shook hands with the other party again, saying generously, Belsingh is very happy to meet Secretary de Valibek. In fact, it's nothing serious. It's just that I was blackmailed. Damascus rose essential oil worth $20 per gram actually cost me $50. Although he knew what happened, every time he heard that the rose essential oil was overpriced by more than 2 times, the second secretary felt his flesh hurt. He didn't understand the world of the rich. Is it worth spending more than tens of thousands of dollars just to buy these essential oils? But when he saw the beautiful women behind Belsingh, the second-class secretary finally understood why Belsingh was so generous. With such beautiful wives, of course he should use the best cosmetics, not to mention essential oils, which are natural fragrances that do no harm to the body. It seems that this Master Belsingh is young, but he is actually a romantic. Any man should understand the other party's situation when he has a beautiful woman in his arms. What's more, Belsingh is definitely blackmailed, and it is blatant blackmail and extortion. However, citizens of the country have been treated unfairly. As a secretary of the consulate, he should step forward to help solve the problem. So he had a brief chat with Belsingh and learned about the situation, especially when he saw a contract signed in black and white. The second-class secretary was more confident in solving this blackmail incident. He took the contract signed by Belsingh and the store owner, came to the market staff with a cold face, greeted the other party first, and introduced the other party's identity. At this time, the second-class secretary of the consulate brought out the aura of a diplomat. He was afraid of Belsingh, but not the staff of the Grand Bazaar. The status of the two parties was not at the same level at all. The second-class secretary of the consulate had the right to ask for an audience with the mayor, and the mayor had to receive him. This was the benefit of this official uniform. The matter was clear and written in black and white. Even if the case was brought to the Turkish Supreme Court, the owner of the spice store would still lose the case. Because the other party's extortion had become a fact, it had been written in black and white. Now the only thing the second-class secretary had to do was to completely knock down the other party's arrogance. With so much evidence in front of them, they were still making trouble. That was playing rogue. Did you market staff just watch the interests of consumers being harmed? To such an extent, must diplomatic means be used to resolve this dispute? It was not something that he, a market manager, could handle when it rose to the diplomatic level. Although both parties spoke Turkish very quickly, and Belsingh could not understand a word, the faces of the Turkish staff and the store owner's translator became more and more ugly. Finally, the market manager had to call the store owner and the traitor to one side, and whispered for a long time. At first, the store owner and the traitor were still very angry, but as time went on, their momentum became weaker and weaker. In the end, he became a drowned chicken with his head down and an ugly face, as if his father had died. After a few minutes, the second secretary and the market manager discussed it and came to Belsingh with a smile. Mr. Singh, the other party has admitted that he is suspected of extortion and is willing to propose a settlement, but I don't know what you mean. As long as you propose a drinking condition and the other party accepts it, this incident will be settled. Belsingh is not a person who will suffer losses, and he still stretched out two chubby fingers. After waving it in front of the second secretary for a while, he smiled and said, we can settle, but my condition is that Damascus essential oil costs $20 per gram. If the other party agrees, then I will settle. If the other party disagrees, then I will go to court to sue. The second secretary nodded when he heard this and ran to you to discuss with the other party. To be honest, $20 per gram is indeed a little too little. The store owner has to pay more than $10 for the cost price of buying 1 gram of rose essential oil, but the situation is stronger than people now. If it really goes to court, the compensation will be more, so the store owner can only grit his teeth and nod to agree to buy rose essential oil at the cost price. In the end, 10 kilograms of the top Damascus rose essential oil only cost $200,000, which is really cheap. Not to mention that there are only 4 women in the family. Even if 4 more 10 kilogram rose essential oils are added, they can be used for more than 10 years in addition to giving them away. Chapter 315, Adventure in the Casino. The purchase of more than $100,000 is also a relatively large transaction, which can only be completed through bank transfer. In addition to purchasing 10 kilograms of rose essential oil, Belsina asked the store owner to provide a lot of very beautifully sealed glass bottles. Then all the 10 kilograms of the top Damascus rose essential oil were packed in these glass containers, and the amount in each bottle was only 50 grams. This closure can maximize the guarantee of reducing the volatility of rose essential oil, and it can also be used for a longer time to give to relatives and friends, which is also very convenient. Although there are only 10 kilograms, after the packaging, 2 large boxes were made. 2 bodyguards personally carried the leather boxes and followed the crowd. Only then did they walk out of the Grand Bazaar. Originally, Belsina wanted to treat the second-class secretary of the consulate to a good meal and decides to get in touch. Unexpectedly, the other party politely declined his kindness. To be honest, although this diplomat sounds better as a second-class secretary, in fact, he is just a runner and a miscellaneous person. There are so many things to do. After dealing with this matter, he has to rush to several other places where the incident occurred to resolve some conflicts between his own citizens and local Turkish people. Every morning, he got up and started to work. He was busy until the evening. He was so busy that he had no time to accompany Belsina for dinner. But the other party solved such a big problem for him, and he would not be able to live without expressing his gratitude, so Belsina snapped his fingers. Brooke, the human mule following behind him, had cooperated very well with his master. He quickly opened a suitcase he carried with him. Then he put it flat in his hand and held it for his master to choose the items inside. Although this leather suitcase is very small and very light, the things inside are not simple. They are all exquisite glass boxes, and the boxes are also filled with very exquisite gemstone gold rings. Of course, half of these gold rings are for men and half for women. They were all excavated from Buddhist ruins, because Indians, both men and women, have no resistance to gold or gold jewelry. In addition, the price of these gold and gemstone jewelry is not cheap, so Bell deliberately picked a large ring and forced it to the second-class secretary as a thank you gift. After the other party thanked him profusely and personally sent him to a taxi, he left the market and returned to the luxury cruise ship. He bought 10 kilograms of rose essential oil at a price of $20, which made Bell a small fortune. These things were enough for several women in the family to use for 10 years. Not to mention that after 10 years, even after 2 years, the price of this batch of rose essential oil would still double. He was considered to have made a profit. How much money would he save in the future? So Belsina was in a particularly good mood that day. He was smiling all day long, and he would smile to everyone he saw, making his subordinates feel that life was much better. The luxury cruise ship set sail that night. Belsina, who was in a much better mood, brought his family to the restaurant and had a good meal. He also drank 2 teals of white wine very luxuriously. There were 2 women who were more convenient to move and the family came to the dance hall. He enjoyed the madness and indulgence that young people should have. Of course, even if Belsina wanted to be low-key, it was impossible. He took to beauties, big and small, and sat intimately in the booth, drinking, chatting, and kissing from time to time. It is impossible not to attract attention. But these days, there are so many rich young men, and there are many beautiful women around them. Everyone is used to it, but they are just curious. After playing for more than 2 hours and drinking 2 bottles of beer, he returned to his suite and then accompanied Lina, while yawning and smelling of alcohol, sitting in front of the window, enjoying the night sky outside the window, eating fruit and chatting. Pregnant women eat the best fruit, so fruit almost accounts for 30% of Lina's food intake. After eating every day, he will definitely hold a large plate of various fruits and eat them fiercely. At this time, Belsina will choose to quietly accompany his wife Lina, chatting and making Lina laugh, while enjoying such a warm moment. Of course, the most important thing is to discuss with his wife Lina what the name of his eldest son should be. It is really too much that it has not been decided until now. The luxury cruise ship has been sailing on the Mediterranean for the past 2 days and has never docked. It was notified 36 hours ago. It will stop at Monaco for replenishment, and the stop time is still 1.5 days. It would be a lie to say that there is no trick in this, because Monaco is one of the 4 largest casinos in the world. It is a small place with a small population, but the per capita income is the highest in the world. Why is that? Because Monaco is full of casinos. Who can sit on a luxury cruise ship and enjoy a round the world trip? Not to mention being rich, but it is still possible to take out tens of thousands of dollars at will. So the luxury cruise ship will choose to stop in Monaco, and the stop time is actually 1.5 days. Why not just want the guests on the luxury cruise ship to come to the Monaco casino to pay? It would be strange if there is no trick in this. But it doesn't matter to Belsina. Belsina still feels very happy to be able to see one of the so-called 4 largest casinos in the world, especially the most prosperous casino in Europe. Whether in the previous life or in this life, Bel has never gambled. Without being involved in a casino, he has no idea how to play those gambling tools, how to bet, and other related matters. If you don't understand, that's the excitement. If you know everything and have seen everything, you won't feel this kind of excitement. When the cruise ship docked on the shore, Belsina smiled and brought 3 beauties dressed up and turned over in the middle of the night. Under the protection of many bodyguards, they walked down the spiral staircase and got on the Rolls Royce that had been booked and went straight to Monte Carlo, the largest casino in Monaco. The Monte Carlo casino in Monaco is world famous and has a very long history, which can be traced back to the last century. It is also one of the 3 largest casinos in the world, covering an area of almost 3% of the total territory of Monaco. Every year, there are millions of tourists and the casino turnover exceeds $10 billion. When I just walked into the Monte Carlo casino, I felt the prosperity coming. Most of the people in the hurry seemed very excited. In groups of 3 or 5, everyone talked about their own luck. How much money do you win, and how much money do you lose? The loser will definitely be dejected, and the winner will definitely be arrogant and domineering. Belsina brought his family to the chip exchange office and exchanged more than $500,000 in chips with a credit card. He held $400,000 in his arms and gave each woman $100,000 of the remaining $100,000. The rest was distributed to his subordinates, with each person getting $3,000 to $5,000. This money was given to them as compensation for their business trips. Chapter 316, Adventure in the Casino Part 2. Each subordinate received chips ranging from $3,000 to $5,000 according to their status in the family. All of this money is their extra allowance. If they are lucky, they can go gambling. If they don't believe in their luck, they can also exchange these chips into US dollars and keep them in their wallets. It depends on their own choice. Others left happily with their chips, but Brooke, the human flesh LUO, would never leave his master and his wife. Without a human mule by his side, Belsina felt as if he was missing a hand. With 3 women and Brooke, the human flesh LUO, he came to the 2nd floor of the casino happily with $400,000 in chips. The 1st floor of the casino is a hall where chips are exchanged, and the 2nd floor is the real gambling place, and the 2nd floor is full of poker. Most of the gambling games are played by fumbling cards, such as 21 points and stud. Belsina took the people in his family and walked around every gambling table. He looked at how these gambling tools are played and the size of the flow of people. To be honest, Belsina didn't like to gamble with poker, and the complicated gamma play was not suitable for novices, so Bel chose to go to the 3rd floor. The unique equipment on the 3rd floor was much simpler, such as playing dice, such as Russian roulette, and even mahjong and pei gao, these gambling tools with unique Chinese characteristics. Playing dice is much simpler, it's just guessing the points are big or small, and the chance of winning or losing is generally around 30%. Why not 50%? That's because the chance of a leopard is not small. If the dealer comes up with a leopard, it will be a win. So Belsina saw the clattering dice and felt excited. He took his family to sit in front of the stage. On the left was a nation. He was handsome and well dressed. The chips in front of him exceeded $100,000. No matter how much money he gambled, he was calm. He was from a big family. Of course, everyone spoke English, and it was unknown where the other person was from in Asia, whether he was from China, South Korea or Japan. Sitting next to the Asian man was a blonde beauty, who was wearing luxurious clothes and heavy makeup. But as soon as you saw the few chips in front of her, you knew that she was here to hook up with rich men, not to gamble. Behind the beauty was a black man who was so strong, especially his big white teeth, which made people very envious. I don't know if it was because of the black skin color or because their teeth were particularly good, but every black man's teeth were white, big and neat. Sitting on the left of Belsina was a foreigner with blonde hair and blue eyes in a suit and leather shoes. As soon as you saw the other person's dress, you couldn't tell whether he was German or Russian. There were only these people at the gambling table, and there were some lesser known characters around who were watching the fun. Belsina first helped Lina sit on the chair, and then smiled, and said to the other two women around him, "If you feel bored, let Brooke accompany you to go around and play. You have chips in your hands, and it's not a pity to lose. When you've had enough fun, come here to find me." The other two women looked at each other and felt very excited, and then asked the flesh and blooded Brooke to take them around and play. Belsina put his chip tray in front of him with $400,000 of chips on it, making everyone around him feel that a rich man has come. The fat sheep has also come, but although Belsina is fat, whether he is a rich man or a big fat sheep, only God knows. After all, Belsina has never gambled in his two lives. People who have never gambled have particularly good luck and strong hands. It is really hard to say who will win or lose today. In such a high-end casino, the emphasis is on serving gamblers to the maximum extent, so the Monte Carlo casino does not have those weird regulations. You can smoke and drink at the gambling table. So Belsina lit a Camel cigarette, which made the people watching the excitement around him feel very incredible. The person who can take out $400,000 in chips actually smoked cheap Camel cigarettes, and the smell of smoke was particularly strong and smoky, making the people standing behind him watching the excitement uncomfortable. But Belsina smoked by himself and felt very comfortable. The casino did not have a clear rule prohibiting smoking. What does my smoking have to do with you? I just like the rush of Camel cigarettes. What do you have to do with it? While smoking, Belsina carefully observed the dice playing method. In fact, it is very simple to guess the number of points, big and small. There are 3 sieves in total, jumping straight in the sieve cup. Above 9 points is considered big, and below 9 points is considered small. If the dealer plays a leopard, and you bet on it, you can get triple compensation. The playing method is very simple, and the speed is also quite fast. It takes more than 3 minutes to play. After understanding the playing method, Belsina took out $1,000 and put it in the position of betting on small. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be big 2 minutes later, which means that the $1,000 was wasted. The winner was the black man with very white and strong teeth, like a chimpanzee. The other party won $4,000 in one hand. In the second and third hands, Belsina bet on small, and the amount of money was not much, just $1,000, and he lost 3 times in a row. The Asian man that Belsina paid special attention to lost the same amount as himself. Right next to him, the other party lost 3 times in a row. More than $10,000 were gone just like that. Although he did not change his expression, he muttered "Baka." This made Belsina frown. Sure enough, the other party was a Japanese. He did not have a good impression of the Japanese in his previous life. In this life, he had never met a Japanese. Now he was in a casino. Everyone was civilized and was playing with money and gambling. Although you said "Baka" in a muttered voice, you were also cursing. The Japanese are a bad race, and it will never change. So Belsina paid special attention to where the Japanese bet, and if the other party bet big, he would bet small. If the other party bet small, he would bet big. He must have $5,000 more than the other party. After 2 rounds, Belsina did not expect that he actually won more than $20,000. Most of it was contributed by the Japanese. After another 3 rounds, any normal person could see that Belsina and the Japanese were competing. Everyone didn't understand why this Indian, Belsing, was competing with the Japanese next to him. When the other party bet big, Belsing would bet small. Moreover, both sides bet a lot of chips each time, reaching $5,000 and $10,000. Everyone could see it. Couldn't the extremely shrewd Japanese see that Belsing was targeting him? But the Japanese have a characteristic, that is, they don't admit defeat, even though they know that Belsing is targeting him. But they still confronted Belsing head on. Both sides bet more and more chips, but Belsing, relying on the feeling of good luck in his first gambling, overwhelmed the opponent, winning 6 out of 10 times and almost losing to the opponent. Chapter 317. Tit for tat, no compromise. Strange as it is, the Indian Belsina's luck is so good that it is really amazing. It's like Superman wearing his underwear outside, confronting the Japanese tit for tat, betting on different positions every time, but winning 7 out of 10 times. Could it be that the Japanese's luck has reached the extreme? After a few rounds, the people watching the excitement around finally saw some clues. This is a sign of winning money. Who can let it go? Anyone who wants to let it go is not a fool, so before each dice is opened, Belsina will unconsciously glance at the furious Japanese beside him, and the people behind and around him are looking at Belsina. More than a dozen people seem to have formed a tacit understanding. If the Japanese bet on the big one, Belsina will bet on the small one with the same chips. Then more than a dozen people came behind him and put all the chips in their hands on the small one. When they won, everyone started to cheer, and when they lost, everyone didn't feel discouraged because the chance of winning was too great, reaching 70%. So many people all won, and the Japanese lost alone. Who can bear this? After a few times, the Japanese got angry and slammed the table and said to Belsina beside him in English, "I said you are from India. Are you sick? Why do you treat me like this? You are sick. Your whole family is sick." Belsina saw that the other party was spitting shit, looked at him with a bad face, and said with a sneer, "Why don't you play if you can't afford it? I'm the only one who bets big and small when playing dice. Why do you care where I bet? I just don't like to bet on the same position as you. This is my freedom, isn't it? Is it your business? You bagayalu." I didn't expect that the other party had just spoken rudely and now called me a bastard, because Belsina had heard these 4 words bagayalu too many times since he was a child. All Chinese people know the meaning of these 4 words. How can Belsina tolerate the other party cursing him? He stood up from the chair with a bang. He stared at the Japanese pig in front of him who was dressed like a human but spoke rudely, and said coldly, "An inferior race is an inferior race. Under fair competition, they actually refuse to admit their defeat. Moreover, they are rude and now they are cursing. Who do you think you are? Apologize to me immediately, or I will make you pay. Look at the price you should pay for that one sentence of bagayalu." Except for that one sentence of bagayalu, this person spoke in English, and the people around him could hear it clearly. I didn't expect that this Japanese man would be so angry after losing that he started to curse and even make personal attacks. His quality is too poor. Asia was a backward representative hundreds of years ago, and it was the Japanese who first rose to become one of the world's powers. Therefore, Westerners still have a good impression of the Japanese and think that Japan is a representative of the East. But what kind of character the Japanese are after World War II, the whole world has seen. But I didn't expect that under fair competition in the casino, the other party still showed the characteristics of an inferior race. You can only win, not lose. There is no such good thing in the world. Do you think you are God? So the people around looked at the Japanese with strange eyes. Although the Japanese were respected by the West, the Indians were not much worse than this inferior race. What's more, India and Britain were in the same boat, and their relationship was not much worse than that of Britain and the United States. In addition, India's elites accounted for a high proportion in the international community, and were well received. Seeing that the atmosphere around him was not right, the Japanese had to choose to bow his head. This was their national characteristic. If you were strong, it would be weak, and if you were weak, it would be strong. Bowing to the strong was not a shameful thing in the eyes of the Japanese. Now the situation was stronger than the people. There were too many people standing behind Belsina, and he was isolated and helpless. Even the black man who was chatting with him happily was watching coldly. He was alone, and how could he compete with these people? so he had to stand up and bow deeply to Belsina. He said a few high-sounding apologies and then sat on the chair and continued to play. This time Belsina openly confronted the other party. He was openly competing with the other party. The other party only had hundreds of thousands of dollars in chips, and he lost them all very quickly. He didn't expect that the other party was actually a rich man. He didn't blush or get angry after losing hundreds of thousands of dollars. He calmly took out a checkbook from his pocket, signed it, and handed it to the waiter next to him. He quickly took out another $200,000 in chips. Belsina won $550,000 with $400,000. The other party's $200,000 and his $550,000 are afraid of you. I'm afraid you will bite me. In terms of assets, the Singh family may not be the opponent of those Japanese tycoons who don't take money as money. But today, the goddess of luck is on his side. His lucky hands are smoking. I'm afraid of you. So the confrontation between the two sides is escalating. If the other party bets 10,000, Belsina will bet 20,000. If the other party bets 20,000, Belsina will bet 40,000. He always maintains an overwhelming advantage over the other party, and the money he bets is twice as much as the other party. The people around him saw the two people competing with each other. The chips on the table were getting bigger and bigger, and each time they would not be less than $20,000. They really like to watch the fun, and are not afraid of trouble. These people also started to bet crazily. Of course, it was Bell who followed the character of betting, not the Japanese who chose the unlucky party. Belsina's bet alone was enough to make the other party drink a pot, and the chances of losing were even greater when these people bet. It took less than 5 times to lose all the $200,000. But what is admirable is that this Japanese man still did not change his face. It seems that the other party is a young master of a wealthy family and has no shortage of money. If you don't lack money, then what about others? With such a high chance of winning, if you still dare not fight you to the end, are you still a gambler? Seeing that the other party exchanged more than 500,000 chips, everyone felt more excited, and more people gathered around. There were more than 20 people, 3 layers inside, and 3 layers outside, and every time they bet chips, everyone had a lot of chips. Only the Japanese side had a few lonely chips of tens of thousands of dollars, and no one followed the Japanese who lost miserably. It was Belsina's dream that the other party would not run away. As long as the other party stayed and gambled, Belsina would be very lucky. That was because the money flowed into his account. This was US dollars, which was related to his direct income. The longer the other party stopped, the more he earned. So Belsina would provoke the other party at every turn. He even deliberately poked the other party's hand with a cigarette, butt in his hand. The other party jumped up with a scold, and then Belsina apologized with a smile, but everyone knew that the attitude of the apology was intentional. Today, I will fight with you. The Japanese man is also a person who refuses to admit defeat, and his family is rich. He doesn't care about the win or loss of $1 or $2 million. Money doesn't matter. Face is the most important thing. Men are all dragged down by face, which is miserable. Chapter 318, Wonderful Night. Because there are so many people, the chance of winning is 70%, just like a street lamp in the dark, attracting everyone. The winners shouted loudly. So how many people on the 3rd floor? Everyone knew what happened at the dice table. Because there were too many people, they all gathered here. Even if you have money, you can't withstand the pressure of so many people. And don't you think it's strange that the chance of winning or losing is 70%, and the more you win, the less you win. Slowly, the $500,000 were lost again. Belsina earned more than $800,000, and the people around him could earn more or less $20,000 or $30,000. There was no leopard for more than 20 consecutive times. Belsina kept an eye on it. The 3 dice were all the same leopard. If a leopard appeared, it would be a winning chance that swept thousands of troops, and the probability of this leopard appearing was no more than 1 over 500. So Belsina began to set a trap for this Japanese. When the other party exchanged a check for $1 million chip for the 4th time, Belsina was drinking beside him and said to his wife Lina with a smile, "It's really boring to play so small. The other party doesn't have the courage to play big with me." How much money can we win in one night? It's not enough to compensate for our sleep. Honey, should we withdraw? There's no point in playing with the other party. Although Belsina seemed to be speaking in a low voice, everyone around him heard it. He was just short of shouting everywhere with a big speaker. How could this be talking to his wife? This was talking to the Japanese, but it was just better hidden. It was just like telling lies with open eyes. Lena and Belsina grew up together and cooperated very well. One look knew what the other was thinking. Belsina sighed and said, "Honey, you are right. There is no point in playing anymore. I'm sleepy and the baby needs to rest. Let's go." The Japanese on the side were already eyed with losses. After several times, they lost more than 1.5 million US dollars. How could you, the Indian who was against you, run away so easily? If you run away, what should I do with the money I lost? From whom can I get it back? Knowing that it was a provocation to him, the Japanese had to join in. This was a conspiracy that was out in the open, and you had to know it and accept it, so the Japanese were furious. He squatted on the table with his wine glass, looking at Belsina and his wife playing a double act, and said unsatisfactorily, "Sir, don't be so sarcastic. Who dares not to play big? I'm afraid you can't afford it." The people around him became more excited when they heard this. All their eyes were focused on the two people, and the chips in their hands creaked. They were just waiting for Belsina to make a decision, so that they could follow suit and win money. Tonight was a big harvest. Everyone was trembling with excitement. Who wouldn't be happy to encounter such a good thing that only happens once in a century? Seeing that the other party was on the quilt, Singer laughed and turned from his chair to look at the Japanese with a gloomy face. The Japanese wanted to beat Belsina's fat face into a pig's head when he said that with a smile. "Oh, this Japanese gentleman also likes to play big. Well, how about we play a big one? I'm just afraid you don't dare." The Japanese very elegantly took out a developed cigarette box from his arms, and after opening it, it was filled with the most classic Cohiba mini cigars. He flicked the cigarette box, then calmly hung it in his mouth and lit it, and then said comfortably, "I, Ichiro Mitsu, am also a famous gambler in Japan. I'm afraid of you. I'm afraid that you don't have the capital to play with me, so that I won't have fun. Do you understand? Oh, since you like to jump into my trap so much, I'm still afraid of you. Today I'll make you lose everything, even your underwear. I'll let you run out of the Monte Carlo casino naked, because I'm afraid you won't fall into the trap. If you fall into the trap, it will be easy to deal with." Belsina laughed and slapped the table provocatively. "As expected of a rival, we both think alike. Since you want to play big, let's set a big one. How much is appropriate, Japanese young master?" The Japanese looked at Bell with cold eyes, and he wanted to eat Belsina alive, and said with gritted teeth, "I'm afraid you don't have the capital. Since you asked me to bring it up, how about betting $1 million a time, and playing 10 times? Millions of dollars a time is very rare in Monte Carlo, not to mention in the 4 major gambling cities. The US dollar is quite valuable at this time. In this era, every American family with a net income of more than $100,000 is considered middle class. Millions of dollars a time is equivalent to the total income of 10 middle class families in the United States. This made the eyes of the money-strapped Belsina turn red. The other party's fat pig is destined to be slaughtered by himself. Today, I will eat the fat meat, but Belsina feels that the speed of bleeding the other party is really not satisfactory. What's the point of squeezing out $1 million at a time? $1 million a time, is it still considered playing big? Even the record of the Monte Carlo casino this month could not be broken. So Belsina sighed and lay on his chair, looking up at the excited audience behind him, helplessly spreading his hands, and said with a smile, "I'm afraid I've disappointed everyone. As a Japanese young master, we really can't afford to play. $1 million each time is too little, don't you think?" Belsina looked like he really deserved a beating, but the people watching the excitement around him should have taken up machine guns and fired. Everyone began to cooperate with Belsina to squeeze this Japanese young master. This made Ichiro Mitsu hear a lot of complaints, saying that if you can't afford to play, don't play. The Japanese are an inferior nation. You don't have money, so why are you pretending to be so big? Not to mention the narrow-minded character of the Japanese, even Belsinger would feel that his personality was insulted when he heard these harsh discussions. Knowing that he would lose, he still had to fight hard to win back his reputation. The other Japanese did the same. After clapping his hands on the table to silence all the noise, he looked at Belsinger and said, "It seems that $1 million at a time is not enough for you, so let's increase the stakes. You tell me how much I, Mitsuichiro, will accompany you to the end. Whoever runs away is a grandson. The grandson is waiting for you to say this. If you don't take the bait, it's fine. If you take the bait, I will let you know why the flowers are red." Seeing that the other party took the bait, Belsinger laughed and clapped the table. He took out the bank card in his pocket, handed it to the waiter next to him, and said with a smile, "Exchange all the money in this card for chips. Since the Japanese Mitsu master is willing to play, then I will accompany you to the end. If you win, all the service staff around will get red envelopes." Chapter 319. Big Gamble. If $1 million is not enough for a gambling game, how much is too much? Although these people are frequent visitors to the Monte Carlo casino, but most of them are wealthy people with a lot of wealth. There are very few people with a net worth of more than $1 million. They are just relatively wealthy ordinary people. Although the Monte Carlo casino is known as one of the 3 largest casinos in the world, Europe is also a paradise for the rich, and there are also many wealthy gamblers who spend a lot of money. But seeing with your own eyes and hearing those rumors with your own ears are 2 different concepts. As the saying goes, hearing is false, seeing is believing. This is really seeing a gambling game of millions of dollars in front of you. These gamblers are already shaking with excitement and their eyes are red. Everyone is so excited. Such a scene has not appeared for many years, and even the manager of the Monte Carlo casino was alarmed. As time goes by, the chips have not been exchanged, but the news of the shocking gambling on the 3rd floor has swept the entire casino. Those who are curious about the excitement came to the 3rd floor to see this shocking gambling game. Although the Monte Carlo casino is the most prosperous casino in the world, it is located below France, the richest country in Europe. The casino's profits are over $10 billion every year, but these US dollars are contributed little by gamblers. It is only with millions of tourists that such a large amount of tax can be contributed. So much money is evenly distributed among millions of people. Each guest contributes more than $30,000, which is already a very amazing performance. The gambling money of more than $100,000 only accounts for a small part. $100,000 does not exceed 3%. Gambling activities of more than $100,000 have not been seen in giant casinos like Monte Carlo for more than 5 months. Both parties feel that no matter who wins or loses, the Monte Carlo casino will not lose anything, and there is also income tax paid by the winner. So opening a casino is a big profit. The casino has no economic loss. The bigger the 2 sides are, the more he earns. Why not do it? Originally, the manager of the casino wanted to deliberately create a very relaxed environment for both parties, and wanted to invite Belsinger and the Japanese to the box to complete the bet, but Belsinger disagreed. Whether the environment is quiet or not has no effect on Belsinger. Belsinger is also a person who likes to show off. There are more than 100 onlookers gathered around the dice table, and he is like the protagonist star in the drama. The feeling of controlling everyone's emotions makes Bell more or less excited. In addition, there are many people around him who follow him to bully this Japanese pig. Everyone has formed a certain tacit understanding. Belsinger will not stop others from making a fortune after finally having the opportunity to win money. It is just a little quieter in the upper box. How can it be more important to share happiness than to enjoy it alone? Without the cooperation of these people, Belsinger would not have been able to force this Japanese pig to this situation today. These are all his allies. Belsinger will not abandon these people. Seeing Belsinger refuse to go to the box to gamble, the people around who watch the excitement and participate in the gambling feel very excited. Everyone cheered and applauded loudly. Some people even started to collect money from the outside to bring a bottle of 1982 red wine produced by the most classic French winery, Romani-Conti, to Belsinger. The price of a bottle was more than tens of thousands of dollars. This was the money raised by everyone to taste Belsina, the guiding light that could win money for everyone. No matter how enthusiastic everyone was, Belsina would certainly not choose to leave. The manager of the Monte Carlo casino saw that both sides were unwilling to leave. Belsina was unwilling to leave the people who supported him, and the Japanese were unwilling to leave because they wanted to win back their face. If these people ran away, it would not be very meaningful for them to win money. The Japanese wanted to humiliate Belsina in public. Only in this way could they win back their lost face. These onlookers had all left. What was the point of winning face? Who could see it? Both parties were unwilling to leave. The manager of the casino could only use his greatest authority to provide the most comfortable gambling environment for both parties. The best service staff were deployed to serve the completion of this table of shocking gambling. Not only were all the service staff handsome and beautiful, and the service is very thoughtful. As long as you put the cigarette to your mouth, a lighter will appear immediately to light it for you without any instructions. As long as your cup is empty, no matter who says something, the waiter will fill it up with a bottle of wine for you. Of course, the gamblers sitting around Belsina are the center of the service, and there is such a big commotion here. The other two women certainly know that their husbands are competing with the Japanese. Although the two women feel sorry for the $1 million bet proposed by Belsina, they will not choose to show it. They choose to sit quietly beside their husbands to support Belsina's decision. Even if they lose everything, they must maintain the dignity of men. This is one of the advantages of Indian women who are centered on men. Even if they lose all their money, there are still so many gold artworks in the family. Others don't know their value, but don't a few women know it? Compared with the value of those gold artworks, this little money is just a little cash reserve of the Belsina family. What's the big deal? The family will not be forever unable to turn over because of a bet. What's so terrible? So several women sat silently beside Belsina, helping Belsina pour wine, or sticking fruit with toothpicks, and sending it to Belsina's mouth. Let Belsina enjoy the treatment of an emperor. The good-natured Belsina did not forget to enjoy his wife's meticulous service, and used his eyes to provoke the lonely Japanese pig beside him. The meaning is very obvious. Look at me. There are so many beauties of all sizes around me. You have nothing to serve me personally. The quality and quantity of women around a man are directly related to the man's achievements and status. After all, this world is a patriarchal world. No matter how much we advocate equality between men and women, the mainstream of the world is still dominated by men. The quality of women is related to the identity and status of men. This is why so many people like to find lovers. And they always bring their lovers to any event, not their wives, because the quality of their wives will never be as good as their lovers. The provoked Japanese could only roll their eyes secretly, but they did not have a female companion around them. Even those young, beautiful and exquisite female service staff would not choose to have too many intersections with the Japanese. We can serve you, but if you want to do something inappropriate, then I'm sorry, the casino will stand up for these female waiters. A few minutes later, the male staff member with the Belsina bank card came with his companion, a group of 3 people holding a tray. Inside were crystal rectangular chips as big as playing cards, with patterns carved with exquisite carving techniques, and the bright number of $50,000. This is the largest type of chip in the Monte Carlo casino, and the crystal chips are worth $50,000. Chapter 320, Big Gamble. The price of a crystal chip is $50,000. The exquisite crystal chip is very beautiful and crystal clear. However, it weighs more than 100 grams and is very large. Even if a strong male security personnel holds the tray with one hand, there will not be more than 60 crystal chips placed on it. Strictly speaking, 50. The chips in the hands of each of the 3 service personnel are worth more than $2.5 million, and the 3 people are exactly $7.5 million. This is the total amount of all the cash reserves of the Belsina family, including the exchange of 200 kilograms of gold reserves, which makes up $7.5 million. This $7.5 million in cash has emptied the entire Singh family, including the Singh Industrial Group, because the card in Belsina's hand is the master card of the Singh family and Singh Industrial Company. It can call on the cash reserves of all subsidiaries of the entire Singh Industrial Group in the bank. including all the mobile funds of the Singh family in the bank. If Belsinger loses this $7.5 million, all the movable funds of the Singh Industrial Group will be cut off immediately. Even if Belsing sold the gold artworks within 5 days, there was no way to save the harmful consequences of the Singh Group's broken capital chain. That's because it's almost the end of the month, and it's the day when hundreds of Singh Group workers get their salaries. It's also the day when each subsidiary of the group provides payment to lower level suppliers. If the capital chain is broken for more than 3 days, these people won't get the money, and the reputation that the Singh family's Singh Industrial Group has built up with great difficulty will be wiped out. Who will still believe in your Singh Group? Although the workers won't have too many complaints, if the company opens a few days later, there will definitely be a shadow in their hearts. That is, the Singh Industrial Group looks very large, but is an empty shell. The salary can be delayed. Then the seemingly huge scale of the group company is actually an embroidered pillow that looks good but is useless. When a big storm comes, the entire Singh Industrial Group will be destroyed and exhausted. What future does such a group company have? This seriously affected the centripetal force of the Singh Industrial Group. People were disunited. What competitive prospects did this group have? Confidence was built up bit by bit. It took a long time to accumulate before it could reach a certain scale. However, it was very easy to destroy the centripetal force of the group. Belsing was gambling on the fate of the entire Singh Group and the fate of the entire family. Is this gamble worth doing? Belsing can clearly tell you that it is worth it. As the saying goes, good people fight for a breath, and Buddha fights for a stick of incense. Although his body is now the body of an Indian, his soul is the soul of an authentic Chinese. He did not catch up with the war years and fought with the Japanese devils with real swords and guns. In this peaceful period, can't he compete with the Japanese at the money and gambling table? This is to fulfill his long cherished wish, not to mention that the broken capital chain puts his group company in a disadvantageous position. What's more, the gold artworks he sells can also make the entire Singh Group stronger and more prosperous. He has a strong economic strength to back him up. Why should I be afraid of you Japanese pigs? We haven't found the Japanese to fight yet, so how can we give up when we meet them today? The 3 male students moved very quickly and standardly, placing 3 trays on the gambling table. Then they placed the crystal chips on the trays neatly in front of Belsinger, and then bowed and left. After a while, the Japanese exchanged chips for the same amount of $7.5 million, and the crystal chips were placed in front of him. It can be said that the two sides saw a crystal world. The dealer who manipulated the dice gambling tools has now been replaced by the 3rd level manager of the casino to personally complete this game worth more than tens of millions of dollars. The manager personally served the 2 people, which was also his due. No matter who won or lost, he, as the 3rd level manager of the casino, would get a huge commission. Because the casino's income tax collection is more than 40%, the casino will take a part and all the staff will take a part. The largest part of the rest will be handed over to the government of Monaco, and part of it is protection fees collected by the French government. So this is why the casino's tax is so high. As the saying goes, there are too many wolves and little meat, and they are all staring at the casino, which is a profitable business. It is impossible not to eat the meat. The chips of both parties are in place. The dealer has become the supervisor of the 3rd level. He is experienced, and there will be no tricks. The dazzling techniques and the gambling movies where people cheating casinos are impossible to appear in the real world. Even the Monte Carlo casino will not have the kind of cheating that pits gamblers' funds. Otherwise the casino in Monaco would not become one of the 4 major gambling cities. Here you can only win money by relying on real strength and luck. It is impossible to play tricks. Therefore, both parties invested huge amounts of money and completed this gambling without any psychological burden. They relied on their own luck and judgment. The chips are in place, the rest time has passed, and the energy of the 2 people has returned. At this time, the Japanese pinched out the cigar in his hand, smiled at Belsinger, and made a gesture of please, and then opened his mouth and spoke in English. It's rare to meet such an excellent opponent like Mr. Singer. Since you said that $1 million bet is too small, how much chips should we bet? I don't care how big the bet is that Mr. Singer wants to complete. I will accompany you. If you dare to accompany me and not run away, then you are like a fat pig handed to me. All I have to do is open my mouth and eat you, a big fat pig. Aren't you afraid that I'm afraid? Belsinger laughed and stood up, slapped the table, drank the Romanicanti red wine in his hand, and said to the Japanese with a smile, "Okay, if we want to play, let's play a big and exciting one. It's exactly 7.5 million US dollars in chips. Let's decide the winner 3 times, 2.5 million each time. What do you think, Mr. Mitsu?" 2.5 million chips for a bet. As soon as this came out, the people watching the excitement around started to talk about it like bees in a nest. Everyone is excited. $1 million bets rarely appear, let alone a round of $2.5 million in chips. 3 rounds determine the winner, which is $7.5 million. With the $7.5 million, if you spend it frugally, a family of 4 can live a life like a millionaire. Not to mention in Europe, even in the United States, millionaires are quite rare. Why do you say that? That's because most of the rich in the United States will invest their funds in real estate and the stock market, and there are very few people who can really take out $1 million in cash. Only some people at the top of the pyramid have this ability. Cash and asset quantity are 2 concepts. How can everyone not be crazy? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 321, The Victory and the Shocking Gamble Goes to Your Head. The surrounding discussions were like a hornet's nest exploding, buzzing non-stop. Hearing Bell's bold words, the Mitsu master was also furious. He wanted to strangle this fat guy Belsinger to death, chop him into pieces and feed him to the dogs. It was too hateful. This pushed him to the edge of a cliff. Although the Mitsu family is one of the top wealthy families in Japan, 7.5 million US dollars in cash is also a lot of money at home. It won't bankrupt the family, but it is inevitable that the funds are tight. Although he is the only heir of the Mitsu family, but after losing so much money and returning home, will the Mitsu master's father let him go? If he doesn't beat him up, putting him in solitary confinement for 1 or 2 years is considered light. But now the situation has forced people to this extent. If you don't dare to fight, all the previous efforts will be in vain. Those blonde and blue-eyed foreigners who are watching the excitement will definitely discuss it. At that time, the Mitsu family will be completely ruined in the international arena. The issue of face is worth 1,000 gold. Just like Belsinger, he can gamble all the operating funds of the entire family business for the sake of face. The risk he takes is not much less than that of the young master Mitsu, and it is even more risky. Why not just for the face of man? The issue of face is really killing people, especially men. There is a cliff in front of the 2 people, but they have to jump down without hesitation and without changing their expressions when they force each other. How tiring it is for men to live. Since the other party wants to die, let's die together. The Japanese have had such national characteristics since ancient times. They are cruel to the enemy and even more cruel to themselves. Die together is what the Japanese like to do most, and Belsinger is not afraid of him, so both sides will be here. Young Master Mitsu laughed and stood up from the chair. He put his hands on his waist and looked at Belsinger fiercely and sneered. Okay, since Mr. Singer likes to play big, let's do it. 3 rounds to decide the winner, each with 2.5 million US dollars. Now there is a saying that 250 is not a good number. Are you sure you want to gamble with this number? Belsinger was so angry. Damn, you little Japanese devil actually flaunted your literary talent in front of me, a Chinese soul. Of course I know that 250 is not a good number. If I were not here, would I bet 2.5 million with you? A fool's number is a fool's number. What can it represent? Although it is not a good number, Bell's personality does not care. He can win back all the money of you little Japanese. 250 is 250, so he said with a smile. Really? You think the number 250 is not nice, but I feel very close to it. Besides, 7.5 million US dollars is divided into 3 parts. 2.5 million per part is this number. Do you want to turn it into 3 million? I don't care if you want to increase the amount. You are still raising the amount. If you increase the amount again, I will go bankrupt, and I will be chopped to pieces when I go back. You are forcing me to death, you damn Indian. It's like both sides are standing on the edge of a cliff, a rope tied around your waist and a rope tied around my waist. Two people agreed to commit suicide. They always smile for the sake of face, but they are almost crying in their hearts. The two sides decided happily, shook hands with each other, and sat in their own chairs, being hugged by Ursing on both sides. His two wives, Prajaya, the little fat girl, sat in his arms, and looked at everything in front of him quietly, hugging on the left and right. There is one sitting in his arms. Although they are not old, Belsing is not old either. They are handsome men and beautiful women, which makes many people envious. Look at the lonely Japanese on the opposite side. Everyone avoids him like the plague. There is definitely no one within 1 meter around him. This forms a sharp contrast. The opponent's momentum has already lost before the battle begins. In addition, the reason why Bell dares to bet so much with this Japanese pig is because Bell has a voice in his heart. It always reminds Belsinger to play the leopard. This once in a century opportunity appears in front of him. Because there is such a rule for playing dice. If you don't bet on the leopard, then the dealer will open the dice. The leopard is the dealer who wins the big and small. That is to say, no matter whether you bet on the big or small, as long as the dealer plays a leopard, you don't bet on the leopard, then sorry, all the money on the table belongs to the dealer and the casino. But if you bet on the leopard point and win the bet, then all the money on the table belongs to this person. And as the dealer, the casino will also compensate all the cash according to the price. If you win double. This is the power of the leopard. But the 3 dice were jumping around in the color clock. If a leopard really appeared, the chance of it appearing was less than 1 in 1,000. A bet of 1,000 words might not result in a leopard. Belsinger kept hearing the 3-point leopard in his mind, and the sound of the 3-point leopard made Belsinger upset. At the same time, Belsinger felt that it was Lord Shiva who gave him instructions to bet on the 3-point leopard. If he really won, by betting on the 3-point leopard, Belsinger would win double the money, and the casino would pay double. In addition, the young master Mitsu was paying double. How much money would this be? Double 2.5 million US dollars. That is, 5 million US dollars in one round to win 5 million. But if you lose 2.5 million, it's gone. Although Belsinger doesn't care about the money, his prosperous luck will come to an end. At that time, the Japanese may still be able to turn the tables, and Belsinger doesn't care about losing some money. But the Japanese have the upper hand, and Belsinger can't be careless. But this sound is like a bell, knocking left and right in his mind, and the clock keeps ringing. So Belsinger planned to take a gamble. If he could be reborn as the little boy in India, what else could not happen? It might not be God's instruction to him. So Belsinger saw the Japanese put the chips on the small one, and those who were watching the excitement around him, and always followed Belsinger, to win money also began to fiddle with all the chips in their hands. With red eyes nailed to Belsinger, they saw where Belsinger put the chips, and they put them there. As the saying goes, if you don't follow the lights, you will lose and sell yourself. These people have won a lot of money. But this time, Belsinger almost surprised everyone, and smashed their jaws on their feet. Belsinger put the chips, but the place where he put them made everyone gasp, and the Japanese almost jumped up from his chair when he saw where Belsinger put the money, and was so excited that he trembled all over. It was just a venting point, a chance to win money, because Belsinger was actually overwhelmed by victory. Putting money on the 3-point leopard, a rare number, is obviously a loss. It is giving away money. The more than 100 people around the scene felt incredible. Could it be that Belsinger was really blinded by victory? Those who followed Belsinger and kept winning money began to hesitate. Should they follow or not? This is a question. If they follow, it is obviously a book, but if the 3-point leopard appears, they can win too much. Chapter 322, Shocking Gambling Game, Big Loss. The people around him almost dropped their chins on their feet. At the same time, they began to worry whether the Indian Belsinger had been overwhelmed by his previous victory. Did he not regard money as money anymore? He threw his money into the water like a stone, just to hear the sound. You don't regard money as money, but we can't. The people around him didn't know whether to follow or not, and they were entangled like constipation. His face was distorted into a mess. Groups of 3 or 5 began to discuss quietly, but the betting time was only 1 minute. If you follow, you have to bet. If you don't follow, the bet will not wait for you after the time is up. Some people began to discuss and chose to believe Belsina. They believed that Belsina's luck tonight was so good that he was wearing his pants outside. He was an invincible gambling god because Belsina had led everyone to win a lot of money, but some people disagreed. That was because these people thought that Belsina's character had been overwhelmed by victory and didn't know who he was. This is obviously a losing bet. A large part of these people are regulars in the casino. They just follow behind every person with amazing luck with chips. They have their own judgment ability. They can judge whether they will win or lose money by following this gambler who is so popular that he is so popular. Has this person used up his luck? Should he stop in time? Otherwise, they would not have been able to survive in the casino for so long and would have gone bankrupt. They have their own judgment ability. Both sides can be said to have their own opinions. No one can convince anyone. So what to do can only be based on their own feelings. This time, no one followed Belsina to bet money. Some people chose to defect to the Japanese and bet on a small position. Those who followed Singer were all hardcore gamblers. They believed that Belsina was not blinded by victory. They did not bet casually in a hot-headed manner. There must be a reason for betting on Leopard. They chose to believe in Belsina's amazing luck. But choosing to believe is one thing, and reality is another. As time went by, only more than half of the people followed Belsina and bet on the Leopard. Belsina didn't care. He still hugged his left and right, drank exquisite red wine, ate fruit, and smiled at the scene on the field. He didn't say a word, and didn't show any dissatisfaction. He relied on his own judgment to bet big or small. There was no need to complain about this or that. It was better if they didn't follow him. He could win more money. A minute later, the third floor supervisor of the casino put 3 dice in the dice clock and then covered it with a layer of black crystal carved cover. Then he started to turn the mechanism below and heard the dice jumping around in the cup. After a while of clattering, the dice finally stopped and the black crystal photo was picked up. It was seen that the most classic 123 appeared in the dice inside. When the 123 dice point appeared in front of everyone, there was a bang, and the scene was like an atomic bomb. The winners began to lament that their remaining conscience had the ability to judge, and they did not follow Belsina, the Indian who was blinded by victory. Instead, they chose the Japanese, and indeed they won a lot of money. The most excited person was the Japanese pig. When 123 appeared, the Japanese almost jumped off the chair. He excitedly used both hands to bang the case in front of him. If he had not taken care of his handsome image, he would even roar to the sky to vent his depressed emotions. After losing all night, he finally won, and the winner was a big guy. How could he not be excited? $2.5 million US. After distributing it to those gamblers, his income should reach about $2 million. How can he not be excited to get his money back in one hand? And those who followed Belsina and chose to believe that Belsina wore his underwear outside lost a lot of money. Everyone lost more than $10,000 US. It can be said that there was grief everywhere. The sighs of disappointment were like clouds bursting, which made Belsina's ears buzz. It can be said that there was grief everywhere. Everyone was extremely disappointed. But who can you blame? You put your chips on the 3-point Leopard Hospital. Belsina didn't point a gun at your head and let you follow him to bet. Can you blame Belsina if you want to? It took more than 5 minutes to distribute the money lost by Belsina and those gamblers. The winners must be very happy. They cite that their luck judgment ability has always been good, and cite that the Japanese had good luck, and finally turned defeat into victory. The losers began to choose which team they should stand on. If they continue to lose, they will go bankrupt. What will happen to their families then? They are all ordinary people. It is not easy to win some money. They also plan to go back, to buy a house and a car, to make their families live better. Who has the patience to accompany Belsina to keep losing? Belsina still understands these people's psychology. No one chooses to resent him, and no one chooses to stop him. If you want to follow, you can follow. If you don't want to follow, it's your personal freedom. So the team began to move behind the Japanese. The number of people behind Belsina was getting smaller and smaller. Only more than 20 of the most loyal followers followed Belsina, including the single mother who was wearing heavy makeup and originally wanted to catch rich men in the casino, intending to cheat some money so that her only son who lost his father could live a better life. This single mother has won more than $100,000 following Belsina, which is enough for them to change their current embarrassing life. There is no need for this single mother to sell her body to make a living. These more than 20 people are Belsina's most staunch supporters. They believe that Bel's character will never let go of $2.5 million for no reason. They think Belsina must have a backhand, but Belsina's second bet position made everyone choose to collapse. More than 20 of the strongest supporters left, half of them, and the last one left was the blonde beauty who was hanging on the money. She gritted her teeth and held back tears and tremblingly divided the remaining $100,000 in her hand into two halves. She bet $50,000 on Belsina and chose the 3-point leopard, or chose to follow Belsina firmly. And Belsina bet $2.5 million on the 3-point leopard. When that moment appeared, the people behind the Japanese began to get excited. Everyone showed a bloodthirsty light, looking at Belsina like a fat pig pressed on the chopping board. This is giving everyone money. Just like the previous bet on the Japanese to lose, they began to bet on Belsina to lose. As for whether Belsina could bet on the leopard to win 3 times, 99% of them thought that it was impossible unless it was God's will. God was playing a joke on everyone. Otherwise, there would not be a 3-point report in 1,000 times. Why was it bet by Belsina? It was not a joke. Chapter 323, Shocking Gamble, Turning Defeat into Victory, Part 1. The only person who followed Singer to place bets was the blonde beauty who was looking for a rich man. All the others chose to retreat, choosing to betray and stand behind the Japanese pig, and against Belsina was human nature, and Belsina could understand it. Originally, he thought that any follower would betray, but he didn't expect that the blonde beauty who was obviously here to pick up rich men in the casino would do so. Although he felt very embarrassed, even painful and schizophrenic, and his hands holding the chips began to tremble, he still chose to follow behind him. It would be a lie to say that he was not moved. Belsina could 100% judge that there must be a moving story behind this blonde beauty. But now was not the time to understand, let alone show closeness. All he could do was smile at the other party to reassure the other party. As for whether she would follow behind him for the 3rd time, Belsina could only leave it to God to judge. If this woman chose to follow behind him, she would win a lot of money, which could completely change her fate and even the fate of her family. But would this woman make such a big exception to follow behind him who had lost 2 games in a row? That's right. Belsina had a strong feeling in his heart that he had lost 2 games in a row. I still lose this time. Only at the end will I turn defeat into victory and then win all the money so that these short-sighted people can see the power of the God-favored. The single blonde beauty saw Belsina, noticed her and smiled at her, which made her meaning very clear. That is, don't be afraid to follow me. You will definitely win. The blonde beauty also chose to be faithful to her. She smiled at Belsina and nodded firmly, which made her meaning very clear. That is, I will follow you. Seeing Belsina put 2.5 million chips on the 3-point leopard, the dealer began to shake his head secretly. This dice dealer is the supervisor of the 3rd level. He has been the supervisor for more than a year, and he has never seen a 3-point leopard appear on the dice gambling table. What's more, there are 6 ways to press the leopard, from 1 o'clock to 6 o'clock. But Belsina just pressed on the 3-point leopard. Isn't this just throwing money away? But the dealer would not make any expression. He was a professional dealer. Gamblers' winnings and losses had nothing to do with him. He would choose to be neutral and absolutely neutral. After seeing Xuanfeng bet on the bet, he left his hand. The dealer began to shake the dice again. After hearing the dice jumping 3 times, the dice finally calmed down. Then he opened the black crystal cover, and the small number appeared in front of him again. This time it was not 123, but 135, which was exactly at 8 o'clock. When 135 appeared, the Japanese could no longer suppress their excitement, and jumped up from their chairs. Then they began to shout wildly in Japanese, thanking their Amaterasu for giving their descendants the luck that defied heaven. And those gamblers who won money behind him began to drool, calculating in their hearts how much cash they would get in return for their bets this time. Not to mention others, even Belsina's wives Lina and Natasha felt incredible or a little frustrated. But the two women would never choose to be indecisive, but always support their husbands, no matter what decision Belsina made. They all had unlimited support. In order to cheer up their husband, Belsina, the two talked and laughed to distract Belsina's attention. What were the two women doing? Belsina knew everything. He just patted the two women on the shoulders to reassure them. Your husband is not stupid, and he has not been overwhelmed by victory. He knows what he is doing. Don't be afraid, but it's easy to say. With $2.5 million per game, who wouldn't be afraid after losing 2 games in a row? This is throwing bundles of dollars into the water. Who can bear this? In the end, Praj, who was watching the excitement in Belsina, finally couldn't bear the pressure. Feeling that he had some difficulty breathing, he pulled Sister Natasha next to him with his little hand and whispered, "Sister, I'm a little breathless. Can you accompany me for a walk?" Even if he said it in a low voice, Belsina heard it clearly and knew that the little girl was scared. He let go of the little girl with a smile and signaled Natasha with his eyes to take the little girl to eat ice cream and relax. It was enough to have Lina by his side. In addition, the child in Lina's belly gave him infinite strength. He was still afraid of you, a Japanese pig. I will let you, a Japanese pig, know what it means to be sweet first and bitter later, and what it means to be happy and sad. The other party had won 2 games in a row and was sure to win. The third game started soon. Seeing that Belsina also bet $2.5 million on the 3-point leopard, everyone began to shake their heads and even the gamblers began to get excited. Today was their big harvest. They had already won a lot of money by following Belsina before. This time, Belsina bet on the leopard again and twice, so that each of them won tens of thousands of dollars. If they win the third time and complete the bet, each of them will win assets of less than $100,000. It is enough for their family to buy a good car or a luxury house. Who wouldn't be happy? Who wouldn't be happy to win money? These people were so excited that they almost had a heart attack. Some of them even started to search their pockets for money, fearing that they would be too excited to spend the money. So everyone waited for Belsina to make a move. When Belsina pushed all the chips around him onto the 3-point leopard plate, everyone was so excited that they almost knelt on the ground, collectively praising the greatness of God. They even began to sympathize with Belsina. It was not easy to sympathize with such a young Indian who brought such great benefits to everyone. It was not easy to win first and then lose, and lose so badly that even the pants were pawned. But they did not stop Belsina. The blonde beauty behind Belsina, although her heart was bleeding, but she still trembled and pressed the $50,000 in her chips on Belsina. She believed that Belsina would never lose so easily. This woman's firm support for her husband touched Lina next to her very much, and she took the initiative to invite him to sit down. Then they started chatting, mainly to relieve some pressure and not let this woman focus on the gambling. Otherwise, he would have a heart attack. After seeing Belsina bet, the gamblers prepared their chips like a charge horn, watching where the Japanese would bet. The Japanese was so excited that he could not express his joy. He had won back the money he lost, and he won $1.5 million. Seeing Belsina bet everything on the leopard, he felt that his chance had come. The more you bet, the more you win. The 2 bets just now only earned about $1.5 million each time, and at most no more than $2 million were distributed to others. If you bet more, you can win more dollars. This is a chance to pick up money. Who can let it go? In addition, Belsina lost 2 times, but that kind of unruly look made the Japanese very angry. You have lost your pants. What are you proud of? So this time the Japanese planned to play a big one. Chapter 324, Shocking Gamble, Turning Defeat into Victory Part 2. The Japanese were very dissatisfied that they had spent a huge amount of money, but only won less than 80% of the total amount. Seeing that the third round of the gambling game was about to be formed, the gambling game would be over after this round, and he would have no chance to win money again. This time he planned to be ruthless. Regardless of the contemptuous eyes of the gamblers around him, he actually put all the chips of $3.8 million he won on the big one. He still had $7.5 million in chips in his hand, which meant that all the money on the bet actually belonged to Belsina. The other party took Belsina's money and gambled with Belsina, and the sense of accomplishment was beyond words. He was so happy that he almost danced with joy and danced on the spot the slowest ghost dance of the Yamato people. Seeing that the other party was so shameless and despicable, he just smiled and said nothing. The Japanese have been shameless since ancient times. Belsina can be said to understand their bones. It would be strange if they could also have the spirit of chivalry. Otherwise, they can't be called the Yamato people, and I don't know which river they call the river. Of course, this is just a joke. Belsina waited for the other party to take the bait, because the other party didn't believe that it was possible to get a leopard in 2 consecutive rounds. It was impossible to believe that a leopard would come out in the 3rd round. If he won this round, he could still win 2 rounds and beat the other party so badly that even his mother wouldn't recognize him. This is the effect he wanted, and he wanted the other party to go all out and believe that it was impossible to get a leopard in 3 consecutive rounds. This Japanese man didn't believe it. Even if the gamblers around him beat them to death, they would not believe that a leopard would come out in 3 consecutive rounds. But the voice in Belsina's heart always told Belsina that this time was a chance to turn defeat into victory. Belsina also chose to follow the voice in his heart. No matter what, he would fight with the leopard today. And he also fought with the 3-point leopard. I'm going to fight with you today. No matter whether I win or lose, I'm going to fight with the 3-point leopard. Seeing that the Japanese had put all the winnings on the gambling table, these gamblers began to calculate their own little thoughts. Finally, after a strong psychological struggle, everyone made a choice and bet half of their funds on the big plate. They planned to win again. There were hundreds of gamblers, and the entire gambling table was covered with chips. After counting, the funds on the table exceeded $7.8 million, which was $300,000 more than the $7.5 million in Belsina's hands. This time, it was really a big win, but the big one was still to come, and it hadn't come out yet. The $7.5 million in the hands of the Japanese hadn't been moved, so how could it be considered a big one? The dice came out with a clatter, and when the black crystal cover of the dice was removed, everyone was dumbfounded. The scene can be said to be silent. There was no sound at all, let alone a needle falling on the ground. Even a hair falling on the ground could hear a bang. Everyone was like a rooster being strangled by the neck, staring with eyes wide open and unable to make any sound. This is too weird. How could such a weird thing happen in the world? Belsina saw that he was about to lose all his funds in the 3rd hand. They were about to be kicked out, but unexpectedly, 3 leopards appeared in the 3rd hand. This strange situation really made Belsina bet right. Is it that God is playing jokes on everyone one after another? These people are God's most loyal servants and the most loyal children. They believe in the existence of God. But this time, God did not stand by these children, but stood behind Belsina, the opponent, and made them lose miserably. They really lost miserably, and even their mothers didn't recognize them. How could this be possible? Isn't this a big joke? How could this be a joke? When everything was settled, although Lina was chatting with her, the blonde beauty's attention was always on the gambling table. Let's see what her fate is. When 3 leopards appeared, even this strong single mother suddenly had a brain congestion and fainted on the chair on the spot. Fortunately, there were medical staff around who rushed out to rescue the blonde beauty who always stood behind Belsina and firmly supported him. Fortunately, it was just shock caused by excessive excitement. It was no big deal. He just woke up and got through it. There would be no bad sequelae. While rescuing the blonde beauty, there was a sound like dominoes falling. When everyone opened their eyes, they saw that more than 20 people had fallen behind the Japanese. They were in all kinds of conditions. Some were foaming at the mouth, some were fainting, and some were suffering from cramps. No wonder everyone fainted collectively. This was impossible. It was a scene that could only appear in movies. These people lost half of their chips. Who wouldn't be excited? This day was wasted, and they lost a lot of money. The gambling scene suddenly became the emergency center of the hospital. All the medical staff began to use the first aid techniques they had learned. But some people were still not saved. One of the 2 heart patients died on the spot because he couldn't be saved. The other was rushed to the local hospital. Whether he could survive depended on luck. Everyone else had a heart attack. How could the Japanese recover? He sat on the chair on the spot, as if he had lost his soul. He just grinned and looked at the 3 bright red dots that appeared in front of him. That was the 3-point leopard. He would never believe that Belsina, who had been stepped on by him, could turn the tables. He lost the first 2 bets on the leopard, but he didn't expect that the 3-point leopard would really appear, and he was even correct. This was a big small win. All the money he bet on the gambling table was gone. After decades of hard work, he was back to the time before liberation. Who could accept such a result? No one could accept it. Even the 3rd level supervisor, the dealer, began to announce to everyone excitedly in a changed voice. 3 3-point leopards appeared. 3 3-point leopards appeared. Big small win. Big small win. Big small win. Congratulations to Mr. Singh for winning big small win. The manager of the casino had returned to his office and was watching the scene on the surveillance video. When he saw the 3-point leopard really appear, I almost poured my coffee into my nose. This situation is too weird. With the compensation from the casino, Belsina won tens of millions of dollars in one game. But Belsina did not cheat. He lost the first 2 bets on the leopard and won the 3rd one. Even if he was sued to the European High Court, Belsina would be innocent. Who can conclude that Belsina cheated? Everyone at the scene is blind. How could Belsina cheat? What is underwear outside? What is great luck? Belsina is in this state now. But what is puzzling is that if others bet on 2 games and lost and won all the capital back in the 3rd game, they will definitely be excited. So Belsina is very calm. He just smiled and drank the red wine in his hand without saying a word. Chapter 325. 3 leopards in the shocking gamble. It was just a 3-point leopard that won back all the money he lost. The weirdest thing was that Belsina bet on 3 leopards in a row. He won the last one. Could it be that humans really have the ability to predict? The Indian subcontinent is mysterious. But the appearance of Belsina, an Indian, in the casino made everyone feel a chill in their spine. It was so weird. It stands to reason that the young man's eyes were red after losing the first few times, and he lost 2/3 of his funds. Finally, he won all the money back in the 3rd time, and he should be very happy, but Belsina's reaction surprised everyone. This young man is as mature as an 80-year-old man, and there is no emotional fluctuation on his face. After winning so much money, he has been sitting in a chair, smiling and shaking the red wine in his hand, and taking a sip from time to time. How can this be a young man? This is simply the calmness and cultivation that an old fox should have. There is no trace of the youthful vigor in Belsina. What kind of opponent is the most terrible? Such an opponent is the most terrifying. You can't feel its pulse at all. There is a saying that goes, a man without hair on his lips cannot do things well. This is because young people are too impulsive. It is easy for others to control emotions when you are extremely happy or sad, but the old fox is the most troublesome existence. You can't feel its pulse at all. You can't prescribe the right medicine. He is not too happy when he wins money, and he doesn't have too much emotional fluctuations when he loses money. Such an opponent is the most respectable and the most terrifying. There are discussions all around, and everyone feels that they are dazzled. Or is it the end of the world? How could such a huge contrast appear? No matter how chaotic the scene is, the gambling is still going on. Mitsu, who was almost cerebral hemorrhage stimulated by a 3-point leopard, began to look at Belsina with red eyes. I wish I could eat him alive. The humiliation brought to him by the Indian fat boy today can be said to be the greatest in 20 years. With a superior environment since childhood, when has Mitsu suffered such grievances? Even if Amaterasu came today, it couldn't stop Master Mitsu and the hateful little fat man Belsina from fighting to the end. Today, Grandpa will fight you. I don't believe that I can't beat you, an Indian. So Master Mitsu rekindled his fighting spirit. He tidied his clothes, sat on the chair properly, and picked up the wine glass beside him. There was whiskey with ice cubes in it. He took a sip gently, and then looked at Belsina with a smile. Mr. Singh, I have to admit that you are really lucky. You can hit the 3 leopards. It's so beautiful. How about continuing to play? Of course I have to continue playing. You haven't lost your money yet. Can I let you go? Otherwise, I spent so much energy setting up this trap today. Isn't it just to win your money? If you run away, who can I find? Belsina laughed and made a pleased gesture before saying, of course the gambling game is not over yet. Of course we have to continue. Today, whoever loses all the chips in front of him is not allowed to leave. This is a consensus. I believe that Master Mitsu will stick to it to the end. How can I not go to the end? I didn't win your money. Your mother doesn't even know you. I have the same last name as you. Today, this master and you, an Indian, will fight to the death. Whoever runs away is a cuckold. The Japanese are really perseverant. Although I want to kill this hateful Indian, I have done a good job on the surface. I have a standard gentleman look and speak with honorifics, so you can't find any fault with it. This time, the preparation time is a bit long. After all, so many people in the hall have fainted, and first aid is also a lot of work. So the preparation time exceeded 5 minutes, and finally it became quiet, and everyone's attention shifted to the gambling table. Belsina then knocked on the table with a smile, and made a gesture of invitation. As the opponent, Master Mitsu took out $2.5 million of crystal chips very calmly, and pushed them into the small gambling area. That is to say, Mr. Mitsu still bet on the small number, while Belsina chose to close his eyes and ears, and listen to the voice in his heart. The voice sounded like a bell in his mind, and Belsina opened his eyes a few seconds later. I don't know if it was an illusion or a real existence. Belsina opened his eyes and a gleam flashed, and then smiled. He pushed the crystal chips of $2.5 million in front of him on the 5 leopards. At this time, the surroundings were like a fuel air bomb explosion, and it went up with a bang. Everyone didn't expect Belsina to be so crazy. Is he stupid or an idiot? He won so much money with a leopard, so why did he bet on 5 leopards? Is the leopard a totem of your family, listening to your command, and giving out as many leopards as you give up? The 1 in 1,000 rule. If you win one hand, you are already favored by the goddess of luck. Can you still win 2 or 3 times? This is too contrary to common sense. But no matter how people around him talked, Belsina still looked bleak, smiling at the dealer in front of him. The blonde beauty single mother still gritted her teeth, and pushed all the $200,000 chips in her hand to the side of Belsina's chips. The 3 leopards just now made him win $150,000 and win back all the money he lost. This time he chose to go all out and follow Belsina. Wherever Belsina bet, she would bet there, unswervingly following the loudest voice in her heart. That is, following Belsina will definitely win money. This crazy woman is crazy. This is the consensus of everyone at the scene, but this group of men actually don't have the courage of a woman, so some of them still choose to wait and see. Another part gritted their teeth, and put half of their chips next to Mr. Mitsu's chips. Although there were only half of the chips, the total amount of money placed on the table was still more than $6 million. If this hand loses hundreds of people at the scene, gamblers will definitely clear out a large number, more than 2/3 of the number. The loss was clean, and the pockets were cleaner than the face. When he walked out of the casino, the 3rd floor was quiet. This was more in line with Belsina's wishes. You guys are not afraid of death, so come on and continue playing. What we are playing is the heartbeat, the speed, and the passion. After the purchase was made, the dealer began to move the dice in his hand. There was a clattering sound, and then it stopped for a few seconds. The black crystal cover was taken up, and everyone stared at the dice inside. Sure enough, 3 5 leopards appeared. Many people thought they were dazzled, rubbed their eyes, and confirmed again and again that it was still 3 5 leopards. After that, the hall was completely quiet this time, and then after a few seconds, the sound of thumping and falling to the ground was heard. The quality of the casino's rescuers was very strong. Seeing that 1/3 of the people who fell to the ground did not show any panic, those who should be lifted were lifted, and those who should be rescued were rescued. Although some other people did not fall, seeing their trembling bodies, it was known that these people's self-confidence was completely defeated. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.